In this video, I'll be sharing with you my exact price targets for the next great big move on Bitcoin, telling you the exact levels that you need to be aware of right now if you want to trade Bitcoin with success. We'll also be looking at altcoins as well. If you think that that sounds interesting, then I definitely recommend that you keep watching this video. In fact, I can't say that as well as the professionals. Let me just hand on over to Carl. Take it away, Carl.
And if you think that that sounds interesting, then I think you should definitely...
Hey, okay, great, nice one. Let's just dive on into things. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's Rocky Outcrop, and I'll see you in the charts in just a second. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me here today. And hello, uppers. Nice to have you here and to see you. Say, Rocky, happy holidays, mate. Thank you so much, my friend. Really do appreciate it. Got to give a shout out to Carl the Moon, good friend of mine, of course, close personal friend of mine. Very trusted, very trusted, close personal friend of my own. Carl the Moon for the video title today. Credit where it's due. It was his video title that I copied and pasted for today's video. In fact, I found it over here in my other videos your audience watched list. Here, my Bitcoin trade will shock you! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, with 44.1 thousand views. It would be absolutely fantastic if we could achieve anything even in this video, even remotely close to the likes numbers and stuff that our friend, shut up, our friend Carl gets over here. As you can see, you got 3.7 thousand likes in that video. That would be a fantastic Christmas gift to me and the Rocky Outcrop community as a whole if you were to hit like and in fact share on this video. That would be the #1 Christmas gift. That's another recommendation coming straight from the moon's cloudy mouth. Thank you so much to everybody that joins me. If you do hit that share button, then what it does is it helps promote the channel, right? And other people will find it, and that's a fantastic and absolutely wonderful thing to do. I really do appreciate every single last one of you that joins up and even watches this and turns in and tunes in and chats and be a part of the community. Every single one of you is a very special person. But if you want to elevate yourself from special to hero status, Leroy Jenkins special, then hit that share button and pop it out on Twitter or something like that, and I would super duper appreciate it. Well, what have we got on the go at the minute? A degree of stability, you could say, I suppose, in Bitcoin, when we've seen the altcoins crashing quite terribly in the last 24 hours. But, you know, it's not as bad as that. It's not as bad as all of that. Maybe there's some silver linings that we can look at. I want to talk about how the altcoins have done really well today, managing to recover in many instances more than 10%. Well, I don't know, actually, we'll look at the numbers in a second, but recovering quite a lot from the losses they experienced yesterday. And of course, yesterday was a horrific day for altcoins. We're staring Xmas in the face, and we're back once again with the Xmas Master Boot Bat Badabo tick. If you saw that Xmas TA on there, so I'm the X Master. Is what a bit of a little pun and a joke that I put to myself on the thumbnail for today. So thanks so much for joining the X Master. Let's take a look at the charts. By the way, quick shout out to everybody that's joined us so far. We've got Joe Bex, we've got Peter here. Nice to have you here, my friend. Juan Natali, and if we have across Canada, 90%. He is correct. 10%. He screw you up, says across Canada. You know when Carol screwed up when he said, she said. Exactly. Couldn't have said that better myself. And across Canada. Excellent. Oh, what was that? A ding noise that happened on my computer. I wonder what that was. If some sort of trade went through in the background. I hope I don't have my actual trading browser window open, because that's not good when that sort of thing happens, and I'm not interested in showing people trades live on stream. So we'll just hope that that doesn't happen again. Can't imagine what it would have been, that noise. Maybe it was something else. Okay, cool, nice one. So first off, we'll take a look at Bitcoin and try and figure a couple of things out. I've had a couple of sort of suggested ideas to take a look at. So let's see, can we find an ascending, broadening wedge on the charts? And that might be something to look for, and what the targets could be off the back of that if we have one. And we'll do a little comparison between the spot charts here and the futures chart over there on the CME exchange as well. Down below the charts over there there on the screen, you can see a Bitcoin US dollar ticker. So when I navigate from one page to another and look at different assets, you'll always have the Bitcoin prices live on screen. I hope you're all having a really fantastic Xmas out there. Whether to you that means, whether you out there are celebrating the day 20,020 years ago exactly when Mary went into labor with the baby Jesus. Little known to her, would three kings turn up bearing gifts later on that evening, and of course one of them was myrrh. Do any of you out there in the audience know what the primary use of myrrh was 2020 years ago? Of course it was expensive. It was always expensive, and people like to talk about it as being some sort of incense thing, but what was the actual primary use of myrrh? Let's see if anybody knows that. We'll reveal the answer later on, and I'll probably also do a hair reveal as I take my hat off, having come back in from the very, very, very chilly exterior outside. So anyway, I hope you're all sitting comfortably. And then we'll begin. So this is the 15-minute time frame on Bitcoin, and we have this lovely upward movement showing great strength, right? Actually, no. Maybe during this stream I'll do some sort of the floor flies and moon and crypto style analysis again. Everybody loved the impression video that I did the other day. So maybe we'll do a bit of that, but yeah, let's not get too distracted by something like the 15-minute time frame. Overall, the one thing that I would show you on this is that while this is of course a very rudimentarily placed parallel channel. Let me just move this up a bit. I think it's probably better to have it stuck up there around about those levels. Yes, that we've kind of more or less been within, now that I've changed it, we've actually exactly been within the confines of this parallel channel the whole time. Are we looking at this as being the range that we need to break? Yes, we are. And that is actually the upside and downside targets right there in terms of what we need to look to. So in terms of your really brief analysis, 22,200 is of course the key area towards the downside. 24,000 24,250 is your key area towards the top side. Will we be able to break either of them and give anybody at home will we be able to give anybody at home white and happy Christmas? I see an answer coming in there from Peter here. Yes, it was primarily used for perfumes, according to, of course, modern literature and all the rest of it. But the actual proper use case, of the thing back in the day was an abortive. That's right, myrrh was a commonly used, expensive abortive back in the times of early days, or what would you call it? The end days for Judaism. Now, of course, all respect to everybody who has any sort of religious beliefs and everything else. I don't mean to take the piss. I'm just talking about something which is from the history of medicine. Okay, cool. So anyway, and Merry Christmas to everybody out there, from no matter where you are in the world and when you celebrate Christmas. Orthodox churches celebrate it a few days later. Other people, like our friend, my close personal confidant, Carl the Moon, celebrates Christmas on Christmas Eve. Let me know in the comments when you celebrate Christmas yourself. I'm sure a lot of the people watching will be looking forward to opening up their presents tomorrow, but it could be the day that you've had your celebrations today. I'd love to know, and as well, what you're up to. I'm looking forward to Christmas dinner tomorrow. I'll be eating chicken rather than turkey. What I did was I went to the supermarket and I bought a turkey-sized chicken. There, hacked Christmas. There you go. We should put that one on Lifehacker. How to make Christmas dinner taste good. There you go. Good tip for everybody. Of course, it wasn't a full turkey-sized chicken because those don't really exist. And if they did, then we all know that Kim Jong-il would have eaten them all already. Or Kim Young, the other one, like he did with that rabbit. But I got what would be conceivably a small turkey-sized, extremely large chicken, and Christmas dinner will be all the better for it. So yes, great to have everybody here. Hey gang, says Tradespot earlier on. Nice one. Everyone, the pork shoulder still on the smoker. Whoa, you're going to have a lovely tasty Christmas as well over there in the Emerald Isle task. Good to know. Nice to have you here, Horn Hunter, and all of that. By the way, as well, now that we've got a little collection of people here joining us for watching the stream, just the last time I'll say it for the next wee while. Like button, all that, you already know the score. It's very useful. But also the share button, because we have a big mountain to climb to narrow the distance between this channel and, of course, Carl the Moon and all the rest of it. He's, of course, got 150,000 subscribers, and actually, who wants to do a little sort of pools thing? We should maybe do a pools thing. What do you reckon will happen first? Will I get the remaining 50 subscribers to carry us up to 2,000, or will Carl get an extra 50,000 subscribers to take him up to 200,000? What do you think is going to happen first? My personal money is on Carl. Anyway, right, what we have here, by the way, for note to look to is, of course, just the shapes of the oscillators down below. For instance, we see these diminishing highs on the MACD, and we see the diminishing lows on the MACD in this, rather rubbishy 15-minute time frame. We see a couple of peaks here, like a little twin peak on the RSI. We see a positive cross on the DMI, while we have, of course, the ADX languishing down there at the lowly levels of below 15, where volatility is more likely than strength of trend. So we're obviously having one of those Christmas days where there isn't exactly, or Christmas Eves, and then looking forward to Christmas Day, where there's a sort of distinct lack of actual trading volume and all the rest of it on the go. Let's just jump on up towards the 24-hour time frame so we can really put those sorts of concepts into context. I'll hide off all the drawings just now and have a quick look around and see where was it, because somebody told me that there was a descending broadening wedge potential on the go here, and I'm not sure what time frame they were saying to look at it on. So it might be something worth sticking in the comments there or whatever if you want to get me to have a better sort of closer look at things, because I am indeed, as I look at this right now, struggling to see it. Maybe the part of the reason is because I've got it on log. What do we think about that? To be quite frank with you right now, I'm not seeing it. It's not obvious to me. Of course, if you want to share a chart as well, you can always do that and leave it in the comments, and I can click it and bring it up on screen, and we could be interactive like that. And also another thing to think about, if you want to, is that one day in the not too distant future, we could do a phone-in style thing. If anybody wants to join the Discord and jump into the live chat and get on a live video, and we could discuss things together interactively and live as part of the community, then that is something that I'm up for, and I would do. I'd be happy to do that. It could be a good laugh. Of course, we'll not talk about, we'll talk about the charts and everything else. It won't be just us getting on there and getting drunk and having a laugh together. And that's another idea that we still have up our sleeve. I don't actually know if I'll be able to arrange sufficient quantities of booze tomorrow to do the live booze drinking stream, but we'll see what happens. Who knows? Anyway, on the 24-hour time frame, we have this formation at the top here, and it's not exactly pretty, really, is it? Of course, there's a couple of ways that you could look at this, and I'm going to just actually, let me just ditch everything off this chart, shall I? Which chart am I on, just real quick here, so I know. Is this the one we've been using recently? No, it's not. Which chart? I don't know which chart I'm on right now. This might be Bitstamp or something. How much history would I be damaging from the channel to get rid of all my... Whoa, I'll not delete all of that. That's all those old notes. Might want to go back and read them for a laugh. Maybe a year in review video come the start of the next year. So we'll jump over to a different chart here and maybe see if we can clean things up a little bit. And have a look at things. By the way, we also know as well all the key targets. Feel free if you want to sort of pause your video if you like to know the key targets for us, because they're all laid out here exactly as we specified in the past already for the keyest of keys. Anyway, if we were looking beyond these areas, then the targets to look down to would be maybe around about 11.5 grand if we were to push on past that. So that's obviously your scary wary area. And then up towards the top end, we have 25,280 or so. Was in around about this zone that we had the next Fibonacci extension to look to as your next target towards the top side. Of course, as well, overall, we have the targets that are already visible on screen. Living up above us at the minute is that 23,800 area. Taking that out, 24,200, like we already spoke about at El Topo del Show. And then, of course, down towards the lower end, that 21,200 area, next key area of significance for us. Movements down below there, I think, would obviously precipitate a test of the 20,000 area, where we have this upward sloping green line that we also know ties in nicely with the Bollinger Bands on the larger time frames as I extended them up the way, all sorts of stuff like that. So we've got a lot of historical stuff on here. Makes me sad to delete it even from the last week. Yeah, let's just jump over to another chart that I've not used for a couple of weeks, and I'll delete all the crap off of that. Maybe something like the Gemini chart, because I believe I never really do my TA on the Gemini chart because I hate the Winklevoss guys. Not too sure. Yeah, we'll ditch this one. This isn't Gemini, this is Bybit. One of Carl's favorites, of course. If you are looking to sort of help support the channel, there's numerous ways that you can do that. One of which is the Carl style. Shall I let Carl explain it for you? Maybe there's something Carl could explain for us. Now, I don't have the sheer quantity of links, but of course, all this chat that he has here, they're shared equally amongst all the YouTubers. Very often, you know, any deal you see here would be the same deal on my channel, so you can go ahead and do all that crap that he talks about at the intro of the video. And I've actually just set up a Patreon page, so if you wanted to head over to Patreon, you could do that, patreon.com/RockyOutcrop, and this would be my Patreon page coming up here for anybody. So if anybody wants to do that, I've set up 3 levels. What benefits do you get for joining them? You might be asking. Well, if you join the lowest level, you get to be part of the chat community. For an extra bump up the way, you get to be part of the chat community, and as well for the VIP patron, you get the exclusive, of course, the chat community one. That's right. All of these are just ways of supporting the channel. I'm not putting anything especially out here for anybody on any particular way. Really, to be perfectly honest with you, it's just if you want to send some value back the way. Of course, it's Christmas and everybody's dead happy, and we don't need to bang on about that anymore. Now we have a nice clean chart that we can look at. This is the weekly time frame. Of course, I'm not seeing any sort of ascending, broadening wedge on this, unless you were to be really sort of yeah, no, there's not one. We'll not talk about that. Go down to 3-day time frame, see if we've got anything that's jumping at us in terms of those patterns. Afraid not either, really. In fact, the thing that I really want to talk about, if there's going to be any, I suppose, let's jump down to the 4-hour time frame and just look at the way that this top is coming in just now. Whoops, oopsie doopsie, didn't mean to do that. So let's just take a look at the way that we're looking at this current toppy area. Now, if this were to be a top, of course, that's only, I used the wrong language there. This, of course, could just be some consolidation that goes either way. What have we got? Maybe it's in this area that we see some sort of broadening structure, because we do have those highs and these lows. Are they lower than the previous low? Well, they're not actually lower than the previous low. This subsequent low is higher than that one as well. So this is a low followed by a higher low followed by a higher low. We've got a high over here followed by a lower high. The most fair thing to look at this area on the right hand side, as you can see that it slopes down the way, is this sort of structure here, you know. But then when we know that over here is higher and this is, you know, there's the wicks down here came a bit lower, what would also be fair at this point would be to do this. And what do we discover at the end of looking at this overall is that you have the diamond in the rough pattern. Of course, it's not really the rough. This is diamond in the skies. This is more like the Lucy in the skies with diamond pattern there, actually, if anything. Maybe we have one of them on the go. That's the one that seems to jump out at me as being the most obvious one. If we were to get something like that, then we have 2 measured targets for you. So, okay, let's just kind of tick off the title of the video. I will want to kind of, you know, never go completely full blown clickbait and never satisfy anything. So my next move will shock you. Let's just draw it in here and say that it's actually looking up as high as 27,168 would be your next profit taking target move on that one. But let's do the full story, because these are almost, you know, equal either or type patterns. And if you're looking towards the downside, then that takes you back down. Of course, wow, what a coincidence! It takes you right back down to where I measured it from. That's weird. Towards that 19,300 area. So if we're going to be looking between 2 key areas over the next wee while, and we want to draw in fresh ones and not use the ones off of the chart that I already had on the go, then these 2 can be them. That's sufficient for that, and I'll just go with this as being the pattern that's on the charts right now, until such times as it isn't, of course. Now, these things often go either way. Last time we talked about one of these was probably on the Ethereum chart. Now, it kind of was a bit weird and everything else. It didn't satisfy anything immediately, but we did ultimately get that break towards the top side and satisfied most of that measured move. Maybe we see something happen ultimately here. So this does give us a couple of lower targets to look to. Breaking past our previous high over here at 23,800, that's going to be key for us. Let me just stick in another horizontal for us here. So we've got this previous high area here. Do we like it just being just there where it is, even when that's so close to the other one? I don't think so. I think it's probably better to think about this, especially with the psychological area in around about 24k as being key. And we also have this area towards the downside really as well as being key. If we see movements up to these zones but not beyond them, then we can consider that to be fake out. So you have 2 key areas if you're trading it between this and somewhere else, and you're looking for a sort of something in the region of $500 move, you're talking up towards 24k, or if you're looking for the move towards the downside, actually is working out about $1,000 towards the downside currently at 23,512. Percentage wise, what you're looking at, if you kind of just take it from the middle of that diamond, is you're looking at a potential 3.5% move towards the top side, or a potential 4% move towards, or 3.5% move towards the downside, overall, in terms of how that might be over the next couple of days. Ho, how about that? I just did this live. I didn't know I'd be looking at a diamond pattern before I tuned in. I actually had the full intention of finding an ascending, broadening wedge, but I can't see one on there. Instead I see this, and that's what I'm going to go with for now. Actually, there as well, we're 20 minutes into this video. We've done technical analysis, that could blow your socks off if you let it. But there's a few other things that we need to kind of just cover before we go over and chat in the chat box. What we see, of course, is this diminishing volume here during this last phase of price action. That makes a good deal of sense, considering that we're really just consolidating here. This is a bit of a sideways movement. It's obviously not a bull flag or a bear flag type thing. It's not quite so clear like that, or any of that sort of jazz. What do we also have in terms of oscillations down below here on the 24? Am I on the 24? I'm not on the 24 hour. I'm on the 4-hour time frame. That's cool enough. As we see that the strength of upward trend, completely collapsed really here in terms of the ADX during this period of consolidation. That's fair enough. You still, you're just kind of tightening up the coil, reeling back in the fishing line before perhaps you throw it back out into the river again, looking to do that thing that you do when you're fly fishing. So maybe that's what's going on just here. And as we can see, as a result, we've just been living through a period of chop over the last few days, as we kind of would have obviously definitely have talked about in the last few episodes as well. As you can see, the ADX transitioning from blue to that orange zone that we have here, then on down towards red, and of course the negative cross, which we got, as the pink cross over the yellow, hasn't resolved into any sort of price action up above, which is of any note exactly. So we're just kind of consolidating as we see as we see that the highs on the MACD, as we came in here for those highs in the 4-hour time frame, were very much bearishly divergent. The result from that was to move towards the downside. Then, of course, we just moved back up to where we left off between. Now, if there's going to be something that's interesting, then once we pointed out divergence, and we did spend an awfully long time talking about divergence in yesterday's episode. If you want to know about what divergence is, how to use it, how to spot it, how to actually trade off the back of it, almost the complete comprehensive guide to divergence, to be honest with you, it's the sort of guide that I could almost chop out of the video from yesterday, stick on something like Udemy, and put a price tag on it of like $500 or whatever, and it'd be fair value for the course. So if you want to know about divergence and get a really nice divergence module to elevate your trading, just check out yesterday's video. It's cool. It's all in there. Well, what we have here, of course, is a head and shoulders looky thing on the RSI, with a potential shoulder in there, a potential head in there, and a potential right shoulder in this area, giving you the neckline in at around about the area between the neutral line and the tippity top of the bearish control zone. And how does that line up with the price is up above? Well, actually, this area here, which is of course the head, i.e. the high, was this area over here, which is kind of like your left shoulder on price action. Over here you have your head, which is like the right shoulder on the RSI. Over here you have your right shoulder, which of course is not, which is sorry, wait a minute, I just said no. Got that, which is yet to kind of really resolve itself in terms of the divergence here. So what we're seeing, of course, is that in this period between this point and this point in price action, in this period here of price action between this high and this high, that it was of course divergent, forming the RSI head and shoulders, lovely jubbly. And we know, if we watched that divergence episode yesterday, that is my nice and easy way of talking about swing failures in a way that everybody can digest that watches the show. That means that we are looking down towards the neckline here and saying, have we beaten that just yet for a potential breakdown in prices? And we can see that technically we're kind of below it, but we haven't really broken it right yet. We have not done that yet. And as well, I was talking more like as this zone as being a zone. So movements towards the downside could then precipitate these movements here. And of course, failure to do so would be remarked upon around about that 22,400 area. And of course, what do we know? That there's a sort of 60 to 40 split when it comes to head and shoulders working out for you. This is more likely than your average one to work out for you, because we have several features, average in terms of YouTube perhaps, several features such as the upward trend leading up to it. We have the divergence here on the RSI down below in the feature, in the way that we like to see. We also have the sort of the foreshadowing of the head and shoulders pattern with the head and shoulders on the RSI, and of course that all operates in and around about a diamond structure at the top, which gives you a measured move, which naturally lines up with what you would expect in terms of breaking past the fake out zone of the head and shoulders. So if you were to take this, if you were to break out past the fake out zone of the diamond by using the head and shoulders measured move to achieve that goal. So if the prices came down to here, then of course that would trigger your sort of short to medium term price reversal, and that's where you'd be looking to, of course. Now if we did fail this, then we can consider the same sort of aspect in terms of movements up above, movements up beyond these zones where we've taken out that high and we're into the 25,300 area is what's going to really kind of, lead towards that next 7% move towards the top side, coming in for that 27,500 area thereafter. How about that? Do we need to add another layer onto this technical analysis, which by the way is all happening live? I've actually not looked at the charts today. This is my first look at them, so this is all happening live. I hope this gives you a degree of confidence when it comes to doing your own technical analysis at home, seeing that of course you should be able to within the space of 25 minutes not only have a nice chat with your most loved ones in the world, not only joke and go to various different websites and all the rest of it, but it's always time to do comprehensive technical analysis, as I've demonstrated there, especially over the last 5 minutes, I perhaps imagine, of this video. Right, cool. With that, I'm going to drop down towards the 15-minute time frame and leave it back on the charts yet again for us and stretch it out, nicely stretchy, wetchy, so that we can see what is on the go. Now, there's a couple of things which are worth noting. For instance, we had this shaded background area of the DMI. Long-term viewers will know that when this sort of thing happens, quite often what you see is a return back down to the prices where you left off at 23,511, where we are just now, coming in around about this resistance area, of course, by virtue of the fact that I just drew it in there. So, sneaky on that one. But of course, we're coming back down the way here, potentially being rejected by that. The easy target, just based off of this simple concept alone, brings you back down to that 23,330 area, where of course we left off at. This is a 15-minute time frame, offering up the opportunity to be able to actually check back in with that and audit my own technical analysis. If of course I get it wrong, I'll immediately run over to that window behind me and jump out of it into traffic and of course die, so you won't have to suffer through it anymore. So let's hope that I have not got it wrong and we can live with ourselves afterwards. I'm going to dive over to the chat as I leave this 15-minute time frame up behind me, so that you can kind of peruse it as you like and see how everybody's doing, because I want to wish everybody a happy Christmas. And if you're wondering why are you talking so quickly and trying to rush through this, is that what you're doing, Rocky? I've got my spidey senses tingling. Are you rushing through this technical analysis? Well, in all honesty, I don't want to do this technical analysis on Christmas Eve right the way through to, of course, UK time and Bitcoin land charting time Christmas Day. If you don't mind, I'll probably tune out before midnight tonight, although it was nice to do the midnight close yesterday on the charts. Of course, Lee Chinnick, you're going to have to translate those times over to Australasian times yourself. Good to have you here, by the way. Lovely jubbly. Nice to see you there, Danny Morgan. Ho ho ho, Merry Christmas, have a great day tomorrow and a great new year. Super appreciate you tuning in to the show, as I do everybody else that's joined us, not forgetting or overlooking the likes of Michael John Scott. Rocky, question mate, your thoughts on the Euro bond being on the Stellar platform? Could the bond be a hop, skip and a jump to a new European Central Bank digital euro? Beer cheers, champagne glass cheers, beer cheers, winky face, peace sign, thumbs up. Let's come back round to having a little sort of chitter chatter with that. How about people in the comments take a wee sort of gander at the chat that he's having there? There's a lot to be considered when it comes to Europe at the minute, and I would say that whether or not, just as my brief answer to you, Michael John Scott, my brief answer would be that whatever the catalyst be, we can expect a crypto for the European region in the near future anyway. Now, of course, this is the sort of thing that really, and I guess when you said Stella, by the way, you probably forgot the R off there and meant stellar. Correct me if I'm wrong. What do I think about that? I think yes, this is something that we can certainly look to now that we have the European Union area primarily homogenized within the one continental shelf, and of course the pesky English have managed to remove Britain from the European Union against the sort of will of the individual sovereign nations within it, which construct the construct the United Kingdom. In a relationship of equal partners. Of course, now that that's happened, maybe we can look to the future in terms of not having pesky Britain be part of some sort of voting veto mechanism on there, given that everybody already has the euro in the vast majority, let's just say, of the rest of the eurozone. And maybe, of course, now that one of the major veto powers have left, that might be beneficial towards that happening. And of course, then maybe, we can see a cascade of events towards the future of the enterprising embracement of technology. Let's hope so for the European zone, because that would be wise, and why wouldn't they do it in the end anyway, since other countries out there such as China have already demonstrated the viability of concepts like that. Continuing on with the welcomes to the channel, of course we have Alpha BTC wishing everybody a Merry Christmas, just like Michael John Scott did previously to that, and I do believe I've given everybody else a shout out so far looking back up the way, so that's quality. If you are just joining us, of course, then hit that like button, all that subscribe stuff. Right, cool, nice one. What else do we want to look at in today's video? Well, like I said at the tippity top of the show, we will be talking about the altcoin world and how they've done so fantastically well today. Am I exaggerating or am I not exaggerating? Let me just stick the Let me just stick the Binance BTC favorites list that I have here on my trading view up and take a look. Well, we have the likes of Hot BTC. Now, this doesn't really count because daily, as you can see here with this very much, I wish it could be Christmas every day chart on the background here, that of course this regularly goes between 50% up and 33% down, but there's no liquidity there. You can't trade that well enough now. Of course, maybe you could, if you had deep pockets and whatever else, but in the meantime there's not really a great deal of opportunity on that. Looking back down the way, we see the worst performers of the day are things like these ones here, AE, Singles, Dent, whatever AGI is, Whipper, and they're quite low liquidity coins really overall. Yo-Yo, which loves a yo-yo, and as you can see on the charts here, they're all the rubbish ones really overall. Now, XMR being down against Bitcoin 1.28% today, maybe not that great a shock when you look at the XMR chart from yesterday versus Bitcoin, where we saw the prices take a nice rise towards the top side, getting a nice 5% move at different time. Whatever, this is a 15-minute time frame. Sorry, that's the wrong chart. This is a 4-hour time frame. As you can see, during sort of yesterday's and the day before's price action, very much beating the Bitcoin pricing. Now we've come back down to form this double bottom over here. That's fair enough. Maybe that was just part of it kind of shaking itself out. Now we get to the midland where you have the greys on the chart, and if I scroll on down the way, then you can see in the effervescent style of Crypto Zombie that we're having a very much green day today. And going down towards the lower end here, you have the likes of Myth up there, 37% up, Sky up 38%. But then what about this one here? You have XLM Stellar, nice one, tying in neatly with that news that Michael John Scott shared in the chat. And you've also got GTO, missing the F, but it's just get the out, doesn't make any sense. It should obviously be called GTFO coin. Then you have Blaze and other ones like that. Vet's doing quite well. XCZ, that Firo coin or Z coin, whatever you want to call it, not massively impressive, but that's against the Bitcoin pricing. What we can see is some decent moves. Let's instead jump on over towards taking a look at the dollar pairings for these things, starting out by the worst the worst performers, down 4% versus the dollar today. And you have the likes of Anchor, Dent, Fent, and then 0.5% down for XMR here. Okie dokie, we're doing okay overall. Then when we see that the vast majority of the list over here is very much towards the upside, and looking down here towards the bottoms, where do we have some of our familiar friends? The likes of Vet here done a nice move, 13.9% up the way. Is this going to represent some sort of V-shaped recovery on the go in terms of the 4-hour candle frame? That would be nice to see. Then we have other friends of ours such as Tezos back at $2, having suffered and gone all the way down in yesterday's show down to $1.50. Now, it doesn't take Carl Vorderman nor any other sexy mathematician to work out the price difference here in terms of percentages from the the lows, but let's just measure that out and see that we're actually up near enough 30% from the lows yesterday, giving people, obviously, in terms of if you were trading this at the time, which I wasn't, emoji cry face, very good gains on the monies that you invested on that one. So congrats to everybody there. Now, what maybe people might be interested in, actually, really, in terms of technical analysis, and I will be coming back to doing technical analysis for the loved Tezos in a second here, but what people might be interested in is the likes of Ripple. Let's check out our pal Garlic Bread coin over here, XRP to the dollar. Do we want to go on to for a scam dollar, look at it on the biggest scam exchange of all, Bitfinex? Yes, let's do it for the scam, double down on the scam effort today. Of course, Bitfinex being the scams that invented and the guy of the one of the directors of Bitfinex being the one that invented the alleged, I'm not trying to defame anybody, but it's allegedly kind of scammy USDT coin, which is actually considered to be a security, perhaps, potentially, and offering up some deeply bearish, scary news to set us up nicely for a nice recovery in terms of everything in 2021 if we do get a little bit of a crash here, which would be lovely to see, wouldn't it? Trying to shock people when I talk like that to tie in with the title of the video, not really trying to actually tell anybody any financial advice. What we see is we came down here, and where did we arrive at? Well, we arrived at where we've seen Ripple performing so quite a lot of times. For instance, back over here on the 4th of September, this is a 4-hour candle frame, you can see time frame, by the way, on the 4th of September all the way through to the time when they did their own buying of their own coin over on the 15th of November. This is and was the price of Ripple. This is a coin now which is back at where it was before. Maybe we can have, now that we've done that thing that the guy, what was he called, Doug, in the movie, which is based on real life events, Everest, that explored the events back in 1994, was it, whenever numerous people died trying to climb Mount Everest. Was it Doug that went from the almost at the very top of Everest right down towards base camp when he forgot to clip himself into the line? That's actually almost, now I'm actually feeling bad about that, saying that, because it's like speaking ill of the dead. I don't mean to. I was just trying to make a joke about how if you fall off a mountain and you go down, maybe we're at base camp again and we can try going for round 2. Of course, Doug never got that opportunity. What with them dying. Right, cool. Let's just check in with the chat then and see everybody's getting on. I'm going to scroll back up a wee bit and then we'll go through the coins as we normally do on a daily basis here and see how everything's going. And then I'll get a chance to chill out with you in the wee chat for a while. And of course, by the way, to anybody, as you can tell, because I'm speaking quickly and all that stuff, I'll leave. I'm sorry, I don't want to leave stupid Ripple on the screen whenever we're doing this section of the video. What was it I was doing this on before? Bybit, was it? I had it on Bybit. Yeah, cool. This is our diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Now, what was I saying? Yeah, look, we want to leave this on the 15-minute chart. Catch up with the chat. We'll go and we'll do our technical analysis. But as you can tell, because I'm speaking quickly and I want to get through this video today, if you do want to do have your own coin looked at, then I'm going to have to encourage you to go ahead and use the donation buttons. Now, the best way to donate to the channel is, of course, through the 1UP link in the description, where you can send crypto, of course. Being a crypto channel, you might have some, and whatever else. If that's what you want to do, of course you can use the YouTube mechanism, and that's fine. I don't mind paying them the 30% that they charge. And if anybody does use that Patreon link, then make sure you tell me. I'm not sure if it's set up to come up live on the screen. If you do use the Patreon thing, then let me know, because of course I'll do you a coin as well, no problem. But anybody wanting to get in on a coin before I sort of say cheerio for the episode, we'll have to do something like that, because I'm not hanging about here doing numerous different coins today on Christmas Eve of all days. As you know, I am Father Christmas after all, and I have a very busy evening ahead of me. Checking in there, hello everyone, happy Christmas from Australia, says Lee Chinnick. Of course, he's right there right now celebrating Christmas just like all those Chinese people are. Yeah, been and gone, I have my usual sticks and coal from him, says Lee Chinnick, in response to Trade Spotting, who says said, did Santa come and gone in your part of the world? Yes, I did. I visited Lee Chinnick earlier on, and I left him some sticks and coal and spat on his carpet. Shine bright like a diamond. Danny Morgan says, diamonds reflect, not shine. Nice one. Nice little bit of pedantry from Danny Morgan. I do love a bit of the old pedantry. Good one, nice one. 10 points for that. Not being sarcastic, by the way, I did actually enjoy that. Ho ho ho, Merry Christmas, have a great day tomorrow, and everyone a great new year. Nice one. Okay, reflect and refract like a diamond, says Lee with crying happy faces. Is that news, Michael John Scott? I spoke to someone directly involved about 8 months ago, and the objective at the time was limited to FX exchange and large transaction settlements, says TradeSpawn. So there we go, there's a bit of insight. Not inside information, but insightful information. Peter here says, hey Rocky, you should sing Driving Home for Christmas by Chris Ray, you and Jamie. Me and Jamie sing that. Yeah, you know, when it comes to driving music, if anybody's looking for any or doing any drives, for instance, if Kevin tunes into the show, who often seems to drive constantly everywhere, then he probably knows it already. But of course, Chris Ray is probably got to be that number one for driving music. He's of course also the guy that did I'm on the road to hell. Right, cool. Scrolling on down through the chat and seeing what people are saying. I can see that Navanethan has joined us as well. Aloha mates, with a nice lovely Hawaiian style hello to everybody. Nice one. Good to have you here, by the way, my friend. I'm sorry if I missed you in any of the shout out chat earlier on, and I'm looking down there and I'm seeing that people are saying things along the lines of XRP being a toxic mess, and I can't disagree with that. I think it's worth having a small percent of crypto portfolio invested in XRP and Stellar as a hedge is a good idea. Sure, and in fact there is a massive amount of opportunity here. Should we find that is, you know, all kind of the knee-jerk reaction, and we can continue the trend. Does a rising ship raise all boats? Tides, you know the phrase. I'm the one talking here. I got it wrong, but I'm not a weatherman, so forgive me on that one. But you know the thing. Will a rising boat tide all ships together or not? What am I trying to look for here? I had an idea in my head. I want to show, will a rising boat tide the ships together? Well, we can see the total market cap today is up that 1.97. Let's just call it 2%. And what do we see on the go here? Well, this is the 50-minute time frame as well. We could see a bit of a sort of flag on the go. I don't think there's much point in looking at the total market cap on a 15-minute time frame, since, you know, it's essentially a smoothing mechanism or an index on the entire market. Let me stick this back on log so you can see my lines wrapping around this properly. And what we see here is that we've come up towards the top end of our wedge. Of course, this isn't something that I drew in 2 seconds ago to fool you. This is something I also did live on the channel the other day. So, and as I did it, I said, you know, willingly and obviously that I didn't draw it in exactly. I never really do, but you can see that we found this resistance into this point, and we're kind of coming back down towards the downside. Now, this is all obviously very speculative. It just kind of puts a narrative on top of things, but what we can say about it for surezies is that movements down past this zone are obviously fairly negative, but they're not the worst thing in the world, because that's just a high. This is also just a high. What if we come in down past this zone over here, on the other hand? Well, that's different, because we're taking out our previous low, bringing up the oscillators from down below. You can see that the MACD itself isn't divergent, with that moving average divergence convergence showing that, of course, there's the spreading of the prices here, and that has to do with, of course, the whatever. You can see it on the charts itself. I'm not going to explain this. I've got time to break something down in extreme detail today. Today's episode will just have to be what we come across sort of live, as opposed to me kind of spending ages looking at something. But but we can also see the distinct bearish divergence there, obviously, on the RSI. Now, it's not on the DMI, and we do, of course, still have the positive stance here in the DMI. This is the 24-hour time frame at this stage. We got this cross though in the ADX sloping towards the downside. Don't like seeing that so much, and of course we're in the sort of convergence zone there, so perhaps, you know, maybe we see this thing break down the way. Of course, if we don't, then be prepared for it, and the way that you be prepared for it is simply by managing your risk at the key areas we've already discussed about. What is it that dominates the shit out of this chart? Well, of course, we already know the answer to that. It is the Bitcoin chart, and we already know which areas to be aware of if we wanted to push past that, namely 23,800 being your next area that you're looking at right now from where we are right now. And bearing in mind that the prices are currently 23,490, that does mean that we've been ever so slightly bullish today. Maybe that 23,800 areas to look to. If we did that though, it would simply constitute a lower high in terms of some of these smaller time frames, perhaps, you know, if we didn't actually push on beyond it. Bringing up the 1 hour chart to put that into context, you can see here that 23,800 is actually below the previous 2 highs over here, and that would simply be a lower high. Is that a fair target to have in mind right now for trading this thing? It absolutely is. It does slightly completely contravene the chart that I had on the other chart we were looking at in terms of the 15 minutes though. Where is she? Where is she? I keep going to the wrong list here. She is in at this area just here. Yes, and we are still pulling back down in terms of these small term time frames. So there's your sort of current dichotomy. Which one do you want to put your money on? You can manage your risk very easily in amongst any of those areas, of course. Looking down the way, I can see that Spearmint Man came in along here to give us some classic Christmas cheer. By the way, what did you think of that thumbnail? I thought that dog was rather funny on the thing itself as well. Maybe the dog is the X-Master, I wonder. And we see that there's some more chat in there from TradeSpot, for instance, saying if that were to happen, it would seem a perversion of the bond market. They aren't actually stable markets like the last 18 months. That's true, the bond markets haven't been very stable. I think the more to do with the CEOs being caught manipulating the price and liquidity of their own coin in order to profit individually. Yes, of course, as well. They'll be going after them, getting them in the neck. Very real chance of jail time for garlic bread and pals. Pardon me, I sound like a real Xmas Grinch at the minute. The tide is high and I'm hanging on, he says. Cool, nice one. So that's me fairly well caught up with the chat, and now I suppose I can go on to take a look at the other coins that we want to take a look at. Where shall we start? Where shall we start? Let's spin the wheel of destiny and choose a coin. And there we go. Ooh, choose between these ones. Oh, I chose Ethereum. Now Ethereum's had a positive day today as well, much like a lot of these other alts out there, and indeed Bitcoin itself, I suppose, as well, as in respect to what I just spoke about, having found its way all the way up here to a glorious, currently so far as we stand, rejection from having come in and put in anything challenging the last key inflection point here. This is the 1 hour time frame. Let me just zoom on in the way and see that we've come towards this area here, and then of course being pushed away from it. And this candle at the minute is climbing towards the top side. The highs that we've had today, $610, lining up of course with that wick right there. Now what we need to see happen is to move beyond $610. That's a dissatisfactory, pardon me as I kind of cough burp out the way there, area for us to be at. And what we really need to see happening is taking out these other highs. And in fact, as I continue to zoom out and jump up the time frames, you can see what the overall structure really has been for us, and what hanging in there at this 5. What did we get? Did we get our targets in here at 550 as well from what we talked about a few weeks ago? Yeah, of course we did. Then what we're talking about here is the recovery back into what is ultimately here a rising wedge. Now this doesn't broaden, this simply rises up the way and gets tighter. Of course it's not lined up perfectly. This is the Rocky Outcrop channel. I don't deceive you with crazy chat about how you should line these things up perfectly and get it to the dollar price. Only a complete and absolute moron / lunatic would actually expect an entire audience of highly intelligent people like yourselves, who I have a great deal of respect for, to believe that you actually do draw in diagonal lines and things, and aim for them to hit on the nose on those and actually remain solvent along the long term as a trader or whatever. You know what I mean? So I don't disrespect you by talking about it in those ways, and in fact as well I try to empower you by showing you how you can lazily do things. Anyway, we can see here we came down towards the lower end of this, we've moved towards the top side. We have a general sort of then dichotomy when it comes to the Ethereum price action, looking towards the target such as 637 to push beyond, to actually put in a high here on the 12 hour time frame. As you can see, everything else in the meantime is just simply part of the higher low or the lower high structure. So we need to take that out. If we take that out, then we're coming up towards the top end of that wedge, and the real area really kicks back in again, and it's more visible I suppose on the 24 hour time frame. As you can see, this is simply flux along the way to try and find that lower, that higher low potentially here, and then we'd have to go in, and what you'd be looking for is to sit in a higher high. If we fail to take out $680 within the next couple of weeks, you can consider this as well to be your end of your Ethereum technical analysis. If we don't manage to make it back up towards $680 by 2021, the start of 2021, for anyone tuning in later, this is 2020 Christmas Eve, then the general expectation at that point would be to come back down here, and of course not taking this zone out here, especially if you want to be strict about things, calling it 660 for closures on the 24 hour time frame. That would put you in with a lower high, and of course within the framework of this wedge, and we move down towards the downside, and you'd be looking back down towards the sub 600s, and then these two measured moves that we already talked about. Now if you actually do push on beyond that area, maybe we're in the sort of fake out territory. Maybe we just need to realize that this was drawn in slightly wrong, and then maybe we could come up here and push into the 720 zone. Now that means we really need to see movements beyond that, so it's not just a fake out as well. So you can imagine in terms of the 24-hour time frame, anything up here that would that doesn't really properly capture those areas is simply going to end up looking kind of along the lines of what this looked like before I actually made it line up properly overall. That's kind of more or less going to do it for Ethereum, but we will take a look at our oscillators. As we can see here, we had the bearish divergence really staring us in the face at this high, and then of course when we moved towards the downside, we then took out various targets along the way that made it so that you could say that there was indeed a lower local high, one of which was explained very succinctly and nicely by TradeSpot. And another shout out to TradeSpot, who's always a very useful member of the community. They're providing people with insights by saying that if we were to go down past the 50% point of the previous area here, then a lot of textbooks would tell you that was confirmed as a local high. So if I remove that off the way, you can see that both of it, well, you could if I'd zoomed in a bit more, seen it, but I can see it. Just kind of rely on me for this one, ladies and gents, that when we put in these lows down here at the $600 area, that we had then confirmed this as being a high, local high. Another way to look at this, and obviously, as it was the benefit of the current price level at $607 lining up neatly with these two closures here. If we look over to the left, we can see that we took out the previous area where we had that high in. That obviously ties back to the chat I've already had during this episode with regards to how important it is to move back. See the total market cap section, for instance, as a reference point for that. So we obviously took out that area, and that gave us that high again as well. Looking at that and saying that we had that as a local high. And then of course it was bearishly divergent. We moved towards the downside. We've got a negative cross here in the DMI. It's just bringing us into chop, and as we can see, we're experiencing a degree of chop right now as we struggle to establish whether or not we're in an upwards or downwards trend. As you can see here, this low here is indeed lower than the subsequent low, which ties up and converges, if you like to use that word slightly sort of loosely, with the price action up here. And of course that means that we don't have hidden bullish divergence on the go with regards to the MACD. If we actually zoom in here a bit on the RSI, you can see that there was a sort of sniff at it here, but I wouldn't really like to call it that, and instead I'd probably reference the same chat that we had before with regards to the Bitcoin pricing. I want to draw your eyes to the possibility, the potentiality, the potentiality, the perhaps the possibility of this being a head and shoulders. Where is it on the list here? I'll just use this rank tool that I hate using on this RSI here to give us that context. As you can see, it's pretty easy to see why I hate using it. Why do you need to be so gosh darn fiddly? Anyway, your head and shoulders in there. What do you have here? Of course, is a peak at the start of this movement towards the top side. The subsequent moves obviously being divergent. This is foreshadowing the potential move in advance. Now, of course, we don't have the head and shoulders on the actual price action itself quite so clearly, but what we do have is a rising wedge. Drop the mic, move on to the next coin. That's what we're looking at on that one. I hope it gives you a good deal of context. It sincerely, in my opinion, probably should, but who knows. Now, where we did have an ascending broadening wedge, by the way, over here, as we spoke about quite often in the past, was indeed the link chart. Link versus the U to the link versus the U to the S to the D. And what would have been the target off of a measured move off of here? Well, it would have actually been all the way down towards our previous lows. Now, we did have this extreme bearish day yesterday where the prices dropped, 17,755%, or more accurately 37. But of course, that's what we had. And we didn't quite achieve that in terms of a move. But of course, then we got pushed right the way back up, and we never actually managed to take out our liquidity zone. In fact, we only came down here and then we didn't close below either the 1.272 nor its compatriots down below of the 1.414 or the 1.618, and remained above it here, above this liquidity zone overall. And I've managed to then, today as well, do the same thing. Now, today's lows have been down there at $9.85, and that's obviously a fairly scary. But in terms of those movements towards the top side, what we can see here is that we've had a very fantastic opportunity for people who are aware of this zone, which is of course all of you, and in terms of trading this. And what we see here is it's up 13% currently from its lows. Now, this registers as a 1.65 movement in the positive sense towards the top side for the day, but we very much know that that comes in from the yesterday's close. And in fact, what we've seen today is a movement up from down below. We can expect this to continue on the way if we do, the potential for this to happen to continue. But we have taken out the $11 area again, so that's a bit of a sigh of relief for us. Now the highs have come in at 11.30 and we need to actually take that out. We want to come back up above our previous low section. I think it's quite obvious to say that the 100%, or the 1 if you like, of the previous Fibonacci, which is where we get the 1.2 and the 1.4 from for this extension. This number 1 area in here is going to be a key area for us that we would need to take out and make it a nice bright blue, so you can see right here that's where we need to take out. And if we take out this 11.46 price point, that is of course quite bullish for the prices, and we could see things happen in a good sense, one of which being that we could actually come in here and find, you know, a retracement back down the way that ultimately leads towards more upward side price action if we you know, formed a series of higher lows and lower highs. Higher lows and higher highs. Sorry. If I just hide that Fibonacci off the chart there for what we're looking at and draw in the other one, bringing in where we've really been in terms of the extremes of late. Now that's $16.41 up there at the high, and this down at the low here is $8 more or less on the dot. And what we see is that the 236 comes in here neatly at that liquidity zone. Is that a coincidence or is that not? I'm going to let that be up for you to decide. What I'll tell you fairly frankly and honestly is that I had no idea that would be the case before I drew it in. I just did this live on camera with you live in front of your faces. Like, that's what I just did, and that's where that lies up. So is it a coincidence that that's where that is or not? You tell me. But anyway, we had this liquidity zone here drawn in for a number of days in the past, and now we find that this is what I was referencing in terms of the important point if we want to see continuation towards the downside in terms of taking out that liquidity zone. So if we do see more of that sort of struggle continue with regards to the movements down the way, then I'm going to have a very keen eye on the $10 price, but let's just be realistic and call it more like sort of $9.90 or whatever. And if we do continue down the way, then the target could ultimately end up being $7.20, offering up yet another 37% move down from where we are right now. If you wanted to sort of, you know, 37, well, I got that wrong in terms of my off the head maths. It was 35.5, but you'll forgive me, I'm sure, at home when you're watching this one. I'm forgetting my maths so terribly wrong there. But then of course, you know, so we could be seeing another 37%, and that would be extremely painful for people. What we want to see instead is movement towards the top side. If we see any further lows coming in here, then what we want to see is them coming in with a good deal of bullish divergence. Now as we bring up the oscillators down below here and stretch out the RSI and show you that this most recent of lows in this stretch is compared to the previous one, this low compared to the previous one in this period here since the $16, where we've effectively been in a downward trend as represented by that Fibonacci that I've got drawn in the background there, that this was of course not divergent. So if we do see another one coming in, I want to see that followed through with some bullish divergence. Is that possible? Yes, it is. Have we got the mood for it in the market? We most certainly do. But could we see things going down the way even further? Yes, we could. But we got rejected in a sense almost near enough from the bullish control zone at that point. Really, overall, we did have various sort of swing failure targets to look to. This was a high over here. Well, it wasn't actually a swing failure target because that wasn't divergent, so we'll not call it that. We'll not get it wrong, and we'll not go on to talk about that as being a head and shoulders on the RSI either, neatly converging with the chat that we had in yesterday's episode. Now, if you're interested, by the way, which I'm sure you probably are, what was that looking like in terms of the Bitcoin pricing? Now, the whole world didn't expect it, and that's fair enough. I don't say, and I never use words like expect or any of that, or predict or whatever in the charts. I don't do that. It's not me. It's not my style. It certainly isn't. So despite the fact that I had this drawn on the charts here, did I expect to get a textbook measured move off the back of the wedge that we had on the charts for quite a while? No, I didn't. I wouldn't be so aggressively ignorant as to force that sort of narrative upon you as the audience, unlike other people in the world, you know, that you might read about. So you don't expect things off the back of moves. Instead, what you do is you manage your risk. By the way, that's what you do as a trader. Your job is to buy and sell risk. It's not to predict the future. However, if you were to do something like this, looking for a 60% measured move, that's going to be my measuring stick here. I'm just going to use a Fibonacci here to give me a sort of rough idea of where 60% would be in terms of the distance between these 2 points, dragging this down towards the 618 over here, removing that Fibonacci off there. We can kind of say that this is roughly a 60% sized measuring stick. Drag it down here, pop it over to where we saw the wedge getting broken at on this one in terms of the bigger time frame that we had on the charts recently, and we saw it came down to that area over there. Now, what actually led to this in the first instance was, of course, the breakout from the wedge within the wedge. that we had over here, and we broke down the way, did the full measure move. We asked the question here as we're coming in for these lows. As you can see, people eyeballs were on that area, first off going in this liquidity zone where we had the wick coming right down to the very bang bottom of it, coming back up here where we found our body closure at, then moving down here where we had the bing bang bong bottom of the candle here at this point. Then we had the wick of this candle coming right up towards the top of the liquidity zone in there, and then the candle closing in here. So, you know, just in terms of the value, doing technical analysis and all the rest of it, let me just take a little second here to point out, you know, the relevance of this whole section here, having drawn this in advance of this price action. Then we move towards the downside. So if you want to be able to do these sorts of things at home, you're getting lessons on how to do it here live on camera with me. Now I'm going to move on because I don't want to take it too long to look at this chart, which is essentially irrelevant in the market that we have, given that this is a secondary market. It's more of an analog of what happens between the two actual liquidity sourced markets of the dollar pairings for both Link and Bitcoin. But it's worth mentioning you could do the same sort of kind of more or less useless technical analysis currently in terms of the sentiment in the market, especially in the day and age of USDT and all the rest of it and all that, as we're looking toward and the extreme uncertainty, and of course the general expectation amongst forex markets for a rebound in the US dollar, etc., to look towards those ones. We can see that we came down the way here without any bullish divergence on the DMI. We also did it without any bullish divergence on the RSI between this low and certainly at least our last low, and in fact the low from before as well. We did have some bullish divergence between these 2 points, moved towards the top side, didn't succeed at doing anything, and the targets here, if you want to have 1 or 10,000 Satoshi level on that for the 236, and of course they're going to go for more crap towards the downside, 673. But right now, while we have a strongly trending market on the one hand, which is extremely liquid in comparison, whilst of course it's not a massively liquid market yet, and that's of course why we see a lot of these moves and why we also trade it as well, let's be honest with ourselves. I'm not going to focus any time or waste any time looking at that one. Instead, I'm jumping over towards the USDT charts, and you can see the extreme rise up that I already spoke about in terms of this movement of a nice solid 30, what was it we said here it was again up the way, 30% movement up from these lows over here, as I did my emoji cry face during yesterday's episode about missing out on the opportunity to trade this myself. Of course, you know, there was various other opportunities, and in fact, you know, I have taken trades in this market myself, although I'll not tell you what they are. It doesn't take a genius to work out what they would have been, having seen the movements that we've had today, resulting in a 12% price positive price action towards the top side in today's chat alone. What do we see here in terms of this? Just as a quick comparison point, by the way, of course, is this 12% movement up the way, lagging behind USDT, the Link USDD pairing, in terms of this movement that we see, just resulting in the now 2% movement towards the top side, which we already measured out as being actually very similar to the size of movement here. So what you're kind of looking at really is a delay. That Link happened first, then the Tezos one happened, but then of course you've got that rising boat tiding all ships phraseology happening there. What this actually means though in terms of the price action and all the rest of it is that we've come into this key area here where we found resistance or support in the past, as we were of course oscillating in and around about this zone. This zone here was a turnaround, a bullish turnaround with bullish divergence across the board, and a nice setup here as we look towards, you know, the potential for upside price action overall, as we started to look towards whether or not we would trend out the way. Now, what could give you a sense a degree of sort of sanity as you were looking at this during this time, of course, would have been the DMI. Let me just make this full screen for us so that you can see it quite clearly on your own screen. Doodads, by the way, don't panic at any given time. Of course, there is the Bitcoin pricing on screen if anybody's looking to trade that sort of, you know, if that's what you tuned in for, or whatever it is on there. You don't have to worry, you don't have to tune out or anything to see that. But what you can see here, of course, is that this high here in terms of the negative strength of trend and the previous high in terms of the negative strength of trend lines up neatly with this area here in terms of saying that there isn't any sort of bullish divergence on the go. All you can see here as well is that is that during this entire period of price action, which looked like it could be trending towards the top side, we were still faced with chop. Now chop, there was this chance here as we saw the ADX turn blue that maybe when we saw the prices come down the way and towards this level here at around about 185, that we might kind of initiate a strongward an increased strength of trend move towards the downside, and that didn't ultimately end up happening. Moving on, then we see it was remained in chop as we went in for this high, came on down the way, and we never really had the strength of trend. Now we do have strength of trend shown here at this stage with the ADX moving between red to orange to blue, and we we have the negative, of course, coming up the way. But what does this negative line up with? Well, it lines up with our, of course, number 40 area, where you so often see things turning around. If I change this over to fib levels, it actually came up towards where you have fib levels on my DMI. If you want access to this, you can get it absolutely free of charge by going into the Discord and just asking me, and I'll give it to you. There you go, no problem. That's the value for you at home. And of course, as well, maybe if you watch Eric Crown's Crypto Cave channel, then he'll be updating his own DMI with one that from his community he is getting made, whom and the person making that for him, I shared my code for this with them in the hope that they would be inspired by it. Now, they didn't properly understand everything that was on the go there. That's fine. I don't expect everybody to. If you want to understand the DMI in detail, then of course you can go ahead and watch Crown's introductory video to it, which is about 20 minutes long. It explains a lot of the key concepts, and it's a good video. Or indeed, you can watch my own video, which is an hour long, and we'll leave you with what is maybe, you know, a knighthood or a master's degree or a PhD, a doctorate in the DMI. Or of course, if you're not interested, you might just want to reference that Beautiful South song where you might say you've got a knighthood and I'm not listening. Anyway, so looking down the way here, we can see, of course, that the positive strength trend are turning off, blah 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 blah. But the key area for us is this area where we see the blue line, and of course we've come up here, touched it and turned around and gone towards the downside. Could we see, of course, then maybe the strength of trend going towards the top side, and then these things converge rapidly and give us a nice cross? Well, we could, and if we did, that would be a great opportunity for us to get a nice blast off, giving us this key target there at $2.22 for us to say that's a key area looking to the future. Now, that does live currently 10% up from where the prices are right now. There, the prices are $2.02.5, so up towards that $2.22. If we move 10% up, then oh fuck, there goes my camera. Then that's what we're looking to. Oh god, that's the dead. I'll try and turn it on again in a couple of minutes if it gets a bit of charge in there. It was too decharged before I started the video. Something going on there, some inefficient app stealing out all my battery power. So anyway, well, what can we do in the meantime? I suppose I could fix this up a wee bit by putting another source onto there. Let me just put a picture in instead of my face. Let me give me a couple of seconds here, and I will do that. Let me just find a media source. No, an image. I want to choose an image, add image, and add a new source instead, and we're going to call this one Xmas Doug. Add source, and I'll find it on my computer, local hard drive. There we go, there's my pal, and now it's live. Big old screen picture for us there. I'll just shrink this down a wee bit. I'll be able to line up our friend from the thumbnail where my video used to be, and at least will not be so lonely over there if anybody tunes in and they're thinking, where the heck is my pal Rocky at this evening? So let me just kind of line this up a little bit so it looks all pretty on screen for us, or at least prettier than it did before. And there we go. That's slightly better at least, right? That's slightly better at least than it was a second ago. Maybe you could even make it even better by just dragging it down a bit here, something like that. I don't know. No, down here. No, crap, in there. Yeah, cool. So that'll do, right? That'll do. That will do. Xmas Doug. I could also start doing Four Flies impressions or something like that now, maybe, since the camera's gone away again. We did have a good laugh doing that the last time the camera died. I don't know. Is it worth it or not? Probably not worth it. Doesn't line up properly. I'm really annoyed about it. Why is it not even behind the thing? I could spend all day trying to fix this. Should I? No, probably not. Let me just scroll down. There we go. Right, now it's beautiful looking. Wonderful. Beautiful looking stuff. So we have done the technical analysis for the coins that I intended on doing, really, to be honest with you. I've already mentioned again the key area towards the top side. Do I think there's a chance of us getting there? I very much do, in all honesty with you. Of course, that remains just my opinion, and I'll continue to trade the technical analysis. This was clearly a profit taking target in terms of moves from the downside. 10% moves are always pretty happy. If you want to take your profit at them, you'll probably be able to work out a decent risk to reward ratio in terms of how you're going to manage your trades at that point. You can see this, pardon me, clear area for us. If we break this, and we maybe have the momentum to do so, maybe then we could look towards the top side. What gives me the audacity, if you like to say that? Well, if you consider this whole section of trend here to be down the way, you've got a high here, we'll call that a high. You've got a low here, we'll call that a low. You've got a high here, and we've got a low here. Then if we look between the two L's towards the downside, this L here and this L here, you can see that's bullishly divergent. Now, it's not bullishly divergent on the RSI, but there you go. The RSI, of course, is a function of price, and we did make it all the way down to $1.50, so that's not much of a surprise, and that is of course extreme bearishness. But in terms of the actual price action itself, this does give you a degree of hope, and the MACD maybe lines up nicely with that price action for us right now at calling this area if we did need to, in terms of where we would see a decent inflection. Now, of course, this is really going to be key in at around about these zones. If we do see a retrace, then 196 becomes that friend of ours again in terms of seeing a bottom coming in for us. We don't want to see any lower lows coming in. I suppose we could look towards the 180 area in terms of a double bottom, but we do want to see, of course, this trend turning around, and that would be better. Right, now I'm going to just check in with the chat as well and all that and see how you're all doing. But when I'm doing that, I'm going to stick the Bitcoin pricing back on the charts and see how you're all doing. Now, of course, I do appreciate that today's episode has been rather rapid fire. We've been at it 1 hour and 9 minutes. I've covered all the coins that we need to cover. I've given people a couple of educational lessons throughout the show, not too deep, not too difficult, certainly not undigestible in any way at all. So I hope there's been some takeaway value for people, and we know that the current areas that we're looking to in terms of the Bitcoin pricing, which is going to be the one that leads the way if we're looking, I suppose, at that whole concept of a rising boat tides the ships, a rising tide boat to ship tide riser, then that's what we're looking at, I suppose, in terms of wanting things to go well for us. Now, overall, as I said before, by the way, just quick reminder to folk, I actually wanted to see Bitcoin crashing in terms of the Tezos Bitcoin pairing, for example, or indeed the link pairing happening, and that remains the case. If they were to see a drop down in prices here on Bitcoin, maybe, we see a degree of upward price action in the Bitcoin pairings, and that's where I'll be looking to, and I'll be obviously comparing, of course, things like what sort of movement have we got here today. For instance, the 0.8% movement that we have towards the top side, I'd compare that with the charts that you have elsewhere and say, well, what sort of movement do we have over here? Like, you've got that 11% movement up the way versus the dollar in for Tezos, which results in a 10% incline versus the Bitcoin pricing as well for us. I'll be looking at that and looking at the dynamic between these two, and of course preserving a degree of the sort of crypto based equity in my account if I were to be trading it that way, with the intention of more or less staying within the crypto markets overall on those trades. That's probably how I'd look at it at that point. I hope you're all getting on very, 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 very well. And let me just scroll up a wee bit up the chat and see if there's anything that really needs to be discussed, that needs to be. Otherwise, I'll just scroll on down and be there at the end with you. Get your chat comments in, by the way, if you want me to read anything in particular out loud or whatever, because I'll be getting down towards the lower end of the chat box in the next minute or two once I've caught up with what's already been put on there. I want to point out, if I do need to point out anything, that we'll be looking for an increase in volume past this point here at 22,383, and that would obviously then be looking towards the next area. Now, this whole measured move thing and where that blue line is a little bit kind of greedy on it. If you were to be looking up at sort of 20k, you could even be happy to take profit off of these things and perhaps going more along the lines of sort of this sort of idea where you're coming down towards the 20k, you don't go for the full measured move. But if you did get it, you did get it. Now, this is of course just me talking about the price action and doesn't necessarily represent what you've seen elsewhere in the world. I am also kind of curious as to what other people are looking at, but I highly doubt anybody's looking at the right thing, so if you don't tell me, I won't feel like I'm missing out. Nice to see Tracebot saying, hey Phil, with a Christmas tree in there, lovely. Everybody share your Christmas love with each other. Of course, interesting point you make. I know you're just throwing it out there, but if there really is a crowd of small cap chasers jumping onto a new boat, ADA would be a likely choice. Well, interesting stuff like that. Better choice would be RSR, but better still would be B to the Bitcoin. What is RSR's primary strength fundamentally? Primary strength fundamentally for RSR is quite clearly this. Let me just give you a second. Give me a second to find their website and I'll show you. Undoubtedly maybe other things have been answered with regards to this, but if you want to talk about fundamentals when it comes to cryptocurrency, then people love to talk about this thing here, and we can see that their biggest fundamental thing that they have on the go is people like Sam Altman, investor in Airbnb, Coinbase, who are obviously, you know, really good at doing pump and dump schemes with coins that they invest in as an early investor, and it's not listed on Coinbase yet, so they'll be looking forward to accumulating and then dumping the shit out of that on people's faces once it gets listed on their own scam exchange, after having, you know, bought it through other scam exchanges. So that's what to look to there. But then you also got other things on the go, such as this guy that's from Morgan Stanley Technology Fund, and where's your man that says PayPal? Where's his PayPal in this? PayPal. Peter is a co-founder of PayPal. Peter Thiel, that's that guy who's up at the top of the screen. So those are your fundamental basis things for it. And what's my take on that? Well, it means that, you know, they're looking for sources of liquidity to dump their early investor money onto, and of course that means they would probably want to manipulate the stock prices, or the not stock prices but the coin price towards the top side, so that they get the full benefit of their whack. And if you want to then swim along as a small fish beside that whale, that would be it. In terms of other things, the best thing about it, which nobody talks about, is this: how the reserve token is stabilized. If demand goes down for the reserve token, prices are expected to fall on secondary markets. What happens then? Suppose the redemption price of reserve is $1. Now this is a 2-token system. You've got 2 tokens. They've got RSV and you've got RSR. So RSV is a stable cryptocurrency that is economically and legally robust at any scale, right? So they're not flying at 100 miles in towards a fine from the SEC. Decentralized, 100% asset backed and funded by top Silicon Valley investors. And then Reserve Rights token is the fluctuating protocol token that plays a role in stabilizing the RSV and confers the cryptographic right to purchase access reserve tokens as the network grows. So what that's actually saying is that is this here. Suppose the redemption price of reserve is $1. That's the stablecoin one that they were talking about there. If the price of the stablecoin one on the open market is 98 cents, arbitrageurs, nice word there with the EURS at the end, by the way, for anybody looking for a nice word, will be incentivized to buy it up and redeem it on the reserve smart. Actually, is that even the correct word? Right? Yeah, it's good. I mean, it is the correct word. It's just I wanted to make sure it was spelled right. And redeem it on the reserve smart contract for $1 worth of collateral tokens. They'll continue buying on open markets until there is no more money to be made, which is when the market price matches the redemption price of $1. The same mechanism works in reverse when demand goes up. If the price of reserve on the open market is $1.02, arbitrageurs will be incentivized to purchase newly minted reserve tokens for $1 worth of either collateral or reserve rights tokens. The latter only if there's an excess pool of reserve tokens available, and immediately sell them on the open market. They'll continue selling on open markets until there's no money to be made, which is when the market price matches the purchase price of $1. So, collateral tokens are somewhat volatile. Well, they may be able to. The idea being there that because they've got 50 odd billion of these tokens, right, and they're looking to dump the liquidity on people, then they've got a coin there which will grow off the back of kind of essentially removing the volatile one, the RSV token, out of the market in order to provide that demand, if you will, towards the RSR token. So it's one of these 2 token systems. I'm going to have to look into this a bit better in order to explain it properly, because I am fully aware of the fact that nobody out there properly understands the system in order to explain it. But what we're looking at here is a coin which can stabilize the peg, essentially, and maintain the ratio, and it's all this sort of thing. So you've got 2, and one of them can change in value, and the other one can't. So if the one that changes, so what you're looking for is the sort of the whole scarcity and demand aspects and everything else to be satisfied through the RSV, which means that you can ride that towards the top side. There are other tokens that are actually already like that, but I'm struggling to think. I mean, it's Ample and Rample and all sorts of other scams along those lines aren't the ones that I'm thinking about. There's other tokens out there which have got a dual token system where one changes the price of the other, but I can't remember what it is right now off the top of my head, unless I'm confusing something and it's an idea I invented which is then being reinvented by these guys, as so often happens when I invent business ideas in my head. Anyway, that's what that one is. I did a really bad job of explaining it, so hopefully TradeSpotting did a better one. They aim to negate inflation by backing the stablecoin with commodities rather than assets which themselves are subject to inflation. That's interesting. RSR commodities, yes. When RSV have enough assets to back their stablecoin issuance, then they will shift completely away from the current method of backing it with alts and fiat currencies, at which point the inflation that stable coins and fiat experience can be exploited with RSR. I think you got your letters the wrong way around there, TradeSpotting, but that's exactly correct what you just said, unless I'm pretty sure you got them the wrong way around there, but that's cool. Either way, doesn't matter. You did a better job explaining it than I did anyway. Nice to see you, AB Lopez. Hey gang, nice to have you here. RSV puts legally in their description how necessary nowadays. Ha ha ha. Yeah, indeed, totally, massively, totally necessary. Nice to have you here, Crypto God. Cardano Woo says Crypto Dodd. Maybe we'll take a quick look at Cardano since it's been mentioned by a couple of folk in the recent past. Hey Coco, do you want to be a star? Coco, come here, Coco. Do you want to be a star? Coco doesn't want to be a star. Sorry, people. Oh, you can't see the camera. So there was me thinking that I could put Coco on screen. That is, of course, the cat that TradeSpotting talks about from time to time. TradeSpotting's cat is round here. Visit me for Christmas. Thank you very much. Anyway, early investors in RSR got it for free in return for locking assets into RSV so they can use arbitrage opportunities and keep their bags for a while. I sound like an RSR fanboy, again RSV fanboy, when I'm really not. I've been going through alts for a while looking for a play to come February, March. Truth is, I couldn't care less about any coin. Their tokenomics leaves a lot to be desired. That being said, it had demonstrated loads of value in real business solutions. Cool, so that's me actually fully caught up with the chat. The time is currently 10:15. It's an hour and 20 minutes into the stream. It's certainly been going at Speedy Gonzalez speed. By the way, nice to have you here, Phil H. I don't think I gave you a shout out so far, even though I saw you chatting there, so that's good to have it. And I think I've given everybody who has said anything in the chat so far a shout out as well, so that's quality. It's great to have the entire family here. And by the way, there's other people like Uppers that don't often get a mention, who was the very first person to say anything in the chat today, so I double down on that mention for Uppers. What we're seeing here is $23,500 as the Bitcoin USD price. So obviously in terms of the 15-minute candles, we've kind of gone back up towards that top end of that thing there. Just put auto on this one. We've gone a wee bit towards it. We dropped down. We came down as low as 23,400, haven't been as high as 23,576. This gives us another clear area in terms of the 50-minute time frame, in terms of, you know, a failure to go past a certain zone. Let's look at this on the target. Yep. Okay, so it's not divergent there. Yeah, it's not divergent or anything at this point. It could break that. This would be very much premature, by the way. Anyone, you know, look at how we've stretched outside of this recently. Now, this is a very small term pattern that I have on the go here. I mean, it fits on just in sort of the hourly time frame and whatnot. So we could break it during the filming of this, but if we did, then the targets remain in place. You know, 24,000 towards the top side and 22,000 to 22,400 towards the downside if we go to either of those. The most likely area in terms of just, you know, looking at this right now for this to go in terms of either of these, in terms of the pattern, in terms of what we're looking at, in terms of this here range, would be kind of down towards the 23,000 area yet again. But we could see that fail very, very quickly if we break outside and pass our previous high. It might be the case that we see something like that happen during the live stream. I feel like this is, you know, because ultimately what we've got here is a series of lower highs, and really until you've gone past the 23,800 level. Do we have it in us to get past 23,800? That's really the question you got to ask with any breakout that comes along. Volume's been just diminishing throughout this entire period. This clearly looks like a wedge as well within this structure, you know, like this sort of idea too. So and the movement from that would clearly take you down towards the lower end of the diamond if we were to get that right now. So I suppose I could make these different colors just so that it kind of, you know, makes a bit more visual sense to people watching at home. as well. So this is kind of the breakdown in terms of like the small time frames, the dinky winky time frames. What we're looking at, this is the sort of thing that you would be doing on your big time frames yourself. By the way, this is the sort of thing you would be doing in big time frames yourself. This is all educational purposes for extrapolation for yourself at home if you were wanting to do these on larger time frames yourself at home. Okay, that's what that's all about. That's why I'm doing this on the show. And there we have it. Yeah, so cool. I've caught up with all the chat. I've caught up with everything. Everything's going great. We've got at least 13 people viewing live at the minute. So I imagine that a lot of outcropticians out there are enjoying their Christmas Eve right now, and that's great to know that everybody's out there and spending time with family and all the rest of it and loved ones. So that's quality. And I then can, of course, kind of think about some other small ideas to kind of go towards the chat element of the show here as well. So like that's what I want to do, a little bit of a chat element here for us. Couple of things. Brexit news seems good on the surface. It's probably actually not quite. It's definitely slipped one past people's so they've kind of pulled a little bit of a fast one with regards to the Brexit news. It'll be interesting to see how people talk about the fisheries policy in the next wee while, because of course it looks like it's good things for it looks like we're doing the whole nationalistic UK idea, but we're probably probably not, because the EU maintains its fishing stocks. It's just they've increased the overall quotas. Things like that are going to come out in the wash in the next couple of days. It'll be interesting to see how that news gets perceived. Doing it at Christmas time is obviously not suspicious. It's just what the plan was. It's called brinkmanship when you act like that. That's what Boris has done, brinkmanship, and it's been a good policy for him. It's worked very well because obviously, as you can tell, he's got the deal. But will it be make everybody happy? Well, we're yet to see. I don't know how it'll impact international markets or any of this sort of stuff either, but I'm not seeing any good news out there as the UK now starts to worry and goes into much stricter conditions as well for the virus in England, because we have a South African mutation. So American people were reading in the news over the last few days about the mutation that's come from Kent in England, which is 70 times more transmissible than the previous version. We also have a more virulent, very difficult word to say, version coming in from South Africa for us to contend with next. I didn't actually manage to do the whole hair reveal thing, but I'll see if I've got how much battery I've got. Yeah, I'll be able to turn my battery on again turn my camera on again here in a couple of minutes for us for the end of the show as I chat to you all. Checking the chat here. Actually, I noticed that my thing seems to change from time to time on Streamlabs, and I miss some of the messages, which is really frustrating because I want to have it on all chat instead of live chat. I see Phil H saying, "Merry Christmas, Rocky. Gotta stuck back my Stella and turn you off as not to be rude on Christmas Eve to my family." Much love, my friend Phil. Go ahead, do that. Thank you very much for tuning in. You've got to go and spend time with your family, and I hope everybody is doing just that right now and enjoying that. Much love to the entire community. I really do appreciate everybody who's tuned in at all. What we have here as well is Alwyn Clute. "Merry Christmas. XRP seems to be bouncing, going up now. Good stuff, good stuff. That's cool. I'll stick XRP on the chart again for a quick second, I suppose, because it has been of major interest for us recently." Yes, the Brexit news is an interesting example of event-based news. Very, very, very true, that one. As you can hear, my noise of my Windows telling me that I have a new device plugged into it again, and I will be with you very, 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 very soon. Very soon, very soon. Come on, where's my doggy? Where's my dog? Where's hide the Xbox dog? And come on, the big reveal, and I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back. I never went away. Don't cry for me, Outcropticians. The truth is, I never left you. All through my dog picture. Blah 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 blah. Right, great. So cool. Here we have it, ladies and gents. Ryan Mills, XRP is trash. Well, that's exactly how I felt about XRP the entire time it's been out. Now, whether or not that means it's the sort of, can trash make you rich? It can. So there's that, but of course you need to just be very, very wise in how you trade it. It's in terms of, I'm going to hodl this thing. It's been crap ever since its highs it had 3 years ago, it's just been a real good way to lose money. Now, we had a nice rise up the way. Did you take profit whenever it got into 300% profit? Did you? I wonder. When I talk on the show and I say 10% profit's enough, you know, I really want to hammer that home with people, because I say it a lot, don't I? If 10% profit's enough, what do you think 300% profit is? Does that start to approach the world of greedy at all? At all? Is does that seem like that to you at all? I don't know. Anyway, you can be the one that decides if what, you know, the difference between 10% being sufficient and 300%, whether or not that's still within that bracket called sufficient, or if that becomes greedy. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I myself had a wee bit of XRP, just a wee bit, just a smidge, not lots, just a wee drop of XRP. I had some. And what did I do? I forgot I had it, right? I forgot I had it. So I've hodled XRP all the way, because I'm an XRP lover, right? So I've hodled XRP all the way from its lows. Let me just find some XRP chart to stick on here. I've been so good, you know. I've hodled XRP all the way from its lows back over here, up to its highs and back down again, just like Sunny Decree is so proudly states that he did with his Bitcoin holdings. Whenever he bought Bitcoin back in 2016, he held it all the way up to towards 20,000. He held it all the way down to 3,000, and he's held it all the way up to where we are now. Of course, making Sunny Decree one of the best traders on YouTube. So yeah, I did that. Now I'm kicking myself about not taking you know, hundreds and hundreds of percent profit. I kick myself about that up here. I'm not trying to kick you for not taking 230% profit on your trade on spot without even looking at the leverage of it. I'm not trying to kick you for that. I'm kicking myself. You know why I forgot it as well? Do you know why I forgot it? I bought it, and then I transferred it to a margin account to do a margin trade with, to go long from over here, and then forgot all about it. Just forgot. I didn't actually even take the trade. So where was it sat? It was just sat in a margin account, not being used to do the very thing I'd intended on doing. So what did I miss out on? 230%? No, I missed out on more like 1,000% move on that. Probably would have taken 1,000. Probably would have gone for a nice 1,000% move there and taken profit. And I would have taken profit somewhere between 10% and 1,000%, probably. But I forgot I had it, like I said. It's total trash. It has jumped up a bit now. That's lovely to see. Are we going to see this moving past any of its key areas? Now, we do know as well that this is the high that it has in its current recovery form. This is its biggest low. This is sort of a 1980s shoulder pad right here. So you have a shoulder pad, a head, a shoulder pad, and what you have here is a neck, a nice neck there. So if we were to move towards the top side, we could see things happen. That could be an inverted head and shoulders here, just in terms of this dinky winky wee time frames, and that could bring you up as high as well, where our next obvious inflection point is in the market, giving you that 35 cents 71, giving you as well a clear insight into, not only has this thing been manipulated heavily towards the top side, not only was it manipulated heavily towards the top side, but with the way that these numbers shape up and the way that these resistance points come in and how it looks predictable to an extent, it's also been massively manipulated towards the downside. So if you're looking for one guarantee from XRP, is that you will have a manipulated market no matter what way you go with it, which is nice. Manipulated markets are not something to be scared of. They're something to embrace wholeheartedly. You just need to swim alongside the big fish. You know, you need to be one of those wee fishes that swim alongside the whale, just like you've seen on those BBC documentaries. So that sort of stuff. So don't be afraid of it. If this thing gets manipulated towards the top side, then we can all celebrate. That's cool. Let's see. We have that was Ryan Miles that said that. Good to have you here, Ryan Miles, by the way. Ryan knows the crack. Then Ryan agrees by saying that's true. Is that what you're talking about? Or were you responding instead to 660 billion per year trade deal, largest ever signed, being weighing on the world markets for nearly 5 years? News comes out, nothing happens yet. Indeed, nothing happens yet. Let's just have a quick look at nothing happens yet. A good way of kind of putting an analog on these things is to look to the Forex markets. What do we have happening in Forexia? Are the forex markets closed actually? Wait, sorry, I'm a bit out of touch here. No, market open. Good. Didn't want to be so out of touch. GBP USD up a stunning 0.32% on the day. Haven't had drop back down. You know, the news about the deal coming out over the period of the last few hours and then dropping towards the downside ever since. So there you go. That's nice. Where did we make it as high as? This twin peak over here. Let's take another look at another analog of this whole market. Let's do the head-to-head, the clash of the titans, the GBP versus EUR. Where are you though, GBP EUR? I've got you on my list, just can't see you. I'm being blind. There we have it. There we have it. This is the movement that we've seen today off the back of this one. A nice movement towards the top side. Top side today. Is that wrong? No, sorry. Yeah. Nice movement towards the top side today. Lol. Sorry. Crap movement in the prices towards the downside, coming back in here, breaking down, putting in lows, looking back over the way. This is obviously the worst the prices have been the whole of December for GBP versus the EUR. So in terms of the clash of the titans, who got the better deal? Well, the money markets would say that maybe the euro side of things got the better deal with that one overall. Anyway, let me just fire on over to Twitter, where you're more than welcome to follow me, by the way, people. More than welcome to follow me. Just go to my own profile, can I, for a second? This is my handle, at Rocky_Outcrop. You can follow me there. Well, so let me just answer my own question. Was the Brexit priced in? Opinions? Yes. There you go. There's your answer. I put that up there 5 hours ago. Didn't get any answers. Might as well just answer it myself. If you want to follow me and take part in interesting Twitter discussions and micro blogs, then you're more than welcome to do so. It's absolutely your discretion. That's a new medal right there. Hodl XRP from the bottom to the top and all the way back down. That's right. Me and Sunny Decree, we're going to have to hook up, share a beer and chat about these things together, about how good it feels to do something like that. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of myself for that. Right? No, not right. But anyway, there you go. By the way, Sunny Decree talks about having bought it at whatever, doesn't really matter, who cares. Trace one, happy Christmas. I actually think Sunny Decree's got quite a lot of useful content out there and all the rest of it, especially for people who like, you know, Northern European accents. Now, not bad catch. Can move stop into profit now. Sweet, that's good stuff. Monkey Magic, good to have you here. Season's greetings. Season's greetings, Monkey. Good to have you here. Nice to see you, my friend Richard. If XRP hits 15, I will load up. Cool, nice one. You mean again? No, not again. Where did XRP get down as low as? I have to move back towards the Bitcoin charts here for the sheer excitement of it soon in a second, of course, and all that. Is this XRP? Am I on XRP now? No, this isn't XRP. I'll just do it myself, actually, instead of hitting the back button. Go all, scroll down, XRP, USD. How low did it go? How low did it go? 21 cents is as low as it went. We talked about all these targets, by the way, the other day. I did put it on there with it going down to 11 cents. That was tongue-in-cheek, but we talked about all of the targets on the way. This is lovely to see it. It's lovely to see a market structure operating so systematically there, to offering up easy trading opportunities for everybody. I'm going to have to remind myself over the next day or two to actually either shit or get off the pot when it comes to that XRP. And take some moves on it. I am currently in profit on that now that we're at 29 cents, so I don't feel too bad. I feel like an idiot, but at least an idiot that didn't lose money. You know? Yeah, I agree, Rocky. Sunny seems like a nice chap. I actually do think so. I'm looking forward to these. So at some point in the future, I'll be exposed to these things. I'm a crypto YouTuber now, you could say. So there'll be a time in the future when I'm in the same room as the likes of Crypto, The Moon, Sunny Decree, and all the rest of it. If you're there at the same time as well, what you'll see is me, Sunny Decree, and Crypto having a really good laugh, getting drunk together, and joking about stuff, and being maybe the 3 tallest people in the room. I'll probably be the tallest person in the entire community. I'm 6'3", so that puts me in the top echelons of height, so I'll probably be one of the tallest ones, but we'll all be there having a good laugh together, and I'll really enjoy it. And we'll even have Carl the Moon come over to share his white wine with us at the time, or whatever it is he's drinking. What's Carl drink again? Lambrini is Lambrini. So he'll come over and have some Lambrini with us. It'll be good laugh, it'll be good life, and I'll keep an eye out. I'll make sure nobody spikes his drink or anything, keep him nice and safe. It's all good, you know, he's only 17. I'll look after him. I just bought some at 25 cents with 15x leverage. Is at 29 cents now. Nice one, Alwyn, you've done really well. 15x leverage, where are you trading that at? Is that what they offer up on Binance and stuff like that, I wonder? By the way, so good on you, well done, good trade, fantastic to have you know, you doing a good trade there. Where did you get in at? Just here at 25 cents, is it? Right on that line, and then you came towards the top side in this area where we're obviously, this little area is kind of representing for us right now our zone to be aware of for any movements towards the downside. This obviously offers up easy buy opportunities, and we can stick the Alwyn trade long position on here. Whoops, hit the wrong button. Stick the Alwyn trade long position on here for us. What do we have here? We can sort of manage our risk, something along these sorts of lines here. What are we looking for? There was this move up the way if we get a neckline break. Now this is just highly speculative, I'm just sticking this in for a laugh, and there we go. I suppose there's a 5-to-1 trade for us in it around about that area right there. So while I don't always draw these things on the chart, it's obvious that this is the sort of, that's how that translates, whatever it is I say, of course, as well. I am big in DOT and Tezos right now. They are my babies. They're my babies. By the way, how is DOT doing then? Let's scroll up and take a look. Wait, let's actually just put our fingers on the pulse of the market. There's Ethereum Classic USD right below this red horizontal line, which was of course the break point for us in terms of the past. Get rid of that stupid trade off there that obviously failed. Yeah, this is obviously a key area for us. 561, big deal if we move towards top side. Now, people like to talk about Cardano being a sort of one of these analogs for the overall market. I'll do that in a second as well, but this is Ethereum Classic giving us the same sort of idea coming down. I mean, if I haven't looked at Ethereum Classic on this chart. I've got no idea when the last time I did this. Going by the Fibonacci retracement, I would suggest that the last time I looked at this was over there on the 9th of December or so, and then we had these two levels on the go, and my god, that was decent. Now of course you may well have been stopped out there, but trading into this the first time it hits it is not necessarily the best idea. It would have looked like the best idea over there on the 23rd of December at that point, and then when it moved up the way would have looked like it. But then of course we then came on further down the way, and this was the time to get in when we had that bullish divergence coming in nicely and everything else at this low. That was perfect. RSI bullish divergence, which we didn't have at this low here. This was not bullishly divergent, so you didn't get in. This one where we broke down below, as soon as we cracked that line again, movement towards the top side, this is, just for anyone wondering, that's 10% profit, easy trade. Just doing this, I didn't take this trade myself, but I did lay it out in full technicolor for everybody, obviously, in terms of what to look at on the charts. Now I'm not trying to rub my own nose or blow smoke up my own arse. It's just, if you subscribe to this channel, that's the sort of stuff you get exposed to over the long term. This is DOT. It's been in this big old range here for a long time. I want to just establish what time frame I want to look at this on. Maybe the 24-hour would be better. So it's got that on the go. It didn't capitulate. It didn't shrink down the same way that Link did, after having done more or less the same sort of structure kind of wise as what Link's done in this period since the rise up, drop down, rise up again, similar to that one. Done well. I do like DOT myself as well in terms of a project. It's got people from other projects working on it who know their stuff, I suppose. Not 3 times in a row we've been resisted at the 50% line. Break that there, then 618 is the next area, but I think we'd probably be able to move on past that, but that would be obviously the next area. Clear range to be operating in here between this blue line, and let me just make this one blue as well, I suppose, so that you can see the sort of the range a la Chart Champions technical analysis. There's your range for you on that one. So that's what you're looking at. I don't need to break it down any further. What was the other one I said I was going to take a look at? Cardano versus Bitcoin. So there's your sort of altcoin and analog for the markets. We came in for a double bottom for altcoins. Now, of course, this isn't what it looked like on a lot of other charts, but this is what the Cardano one looked like here with this double bottom. So that's nice to see, bullishly divergent. Yeah, class B at least, I suppose there, and not so much on the RSI, but then you look back to the actual impulse down, you know, looking at the impulse down, it's obviously on the RSI and the MACD there as well. I said not so much on the RSI there, I meant to say the MACD, don't know why I said that, I guess because we were talking about RSI earlier on. And the negative trend, you know, which wants to initiate here could very easily be reversed by that. We don't have positive negative trend strength quite yet. Failure to do so, of course, then would see this flick blue, and of course we would start looking down the way to be further down targets. But anyway, who cares about all that? Instead, we have Cardano versus Uzdano. We came down to the sort of fake out zone from this parallel triangle that we've got on the go, managed to make it our way back into it. Very good to see this overall in terms of what we've, you know, very good to see this recovery so far. Now, of course, it's very tentative, could easily fail. This is not bullishly divergent on the RSI. We've not got a negative strength of trend. We do have bullish divergence on the MACD. That's kind of giving you that toss up. But I'm seeing this, you know, in terms of the movement back up the way. As soon as we break this area of 15 cents, sorry, that's too little, 15.5 cents, then, you know, we're back in with a shout of kind of going on as we were before, which would be lovely. If we want to see an alt season kick off, then what we want to see is, of course, this go towards the top side over the period of the next week when we get if we get a drop down in the Bitcoin pricing, if not when, if. Of course, I'm not predicting anything at all. I'm just giving you the key areas to look to. Break those levels, then maybe you could start to make assertions like this. If we see this continue towards the top side, then of course, very, very nice. Our target comes in there at 20 cents. That of course is an increase of 40% or so in the price, in which case you would see a lovely little short-lived alt season, as we've had various ones of throughout the year. Now, the short-lived alt seasons are best to be remembered as being potentially just another short-lived alt season. So take profit on your moves in those ones, because while Bitcoin has been in a bull market, which it will be in until such times as it's actually broken down past, depending on your time frame. If you're looking at the weekly time frame, we're going to be in a bull market unless we break something like 8K, 7K, right? Unless we lose, you know, 70 odd % of the price, we're still in a bull market, right? So be aware of that. And while that's on the go, you probably want to avoid looking at the altcoins. Now, of course, that's me talking about Bitcoin having you know, fairly quick moves towards these areas. If we trended down this way for a year, then I'm not going to say that we're in a bull market still. You know, obviously not. And the turnaround in terms of trend really does kick in at around about the 18 grand, followed by 17 grand levels. And I'm not looking down to 11 grand to say that we're still in a bull market at that point. Well, obviously we wouldn't be, and I'd be talking about it very much differently. But from the macro point of view and looking up the way at the big term time frames, as we see here on the monthly time frame, hide all the drawings off, big movements up the way, you could for instance be happy to see the prices going down, happy enough to see them going down and not closing below $13,000, as you can see here, and you'd be happy. It's still very much a bull market, as it always has been in its entire life. But really, you know, between this point here in 2017 and this point here in 2019, and that we were actually in a bear market kind of throughout that section, right up until we didn't go down and put in a lower low and came up and took out our high again. So what you'd be saying is that if we came down here and, you know, we didn't put in a lower low and, you know, and then take out our highs again, that would be just continuation. If we do take out this low down here at 6,500, very much, you know, looking bad, and it would be just a bear market, you know, with the potential of coming back up and not taking out the 20Ks again secondly. But that's miles and miles and miles away, and totally not necessary to look at, and the least likely scenario in terms of what we're looking at at the minute. The prevalence, you know, the prevalence of bullishness here in the market is quite clear. We've had that since in March, as we've been talking about. This entire section has been a bull run now since March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and now we're coming right up to the very end of December. I'm going to say we've been calling this a bull market for 9.5 months, nigh on 10 months. So everybody else is really, 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 really slow to the party here, but we've been doing it here. So if we did see that happen, then whatever, I don't give two shits. But really, what if I don't? Why am I even talking about that? Who cares about? No one cares about that. Going back to the 15-minute time frame. There we go. Now there's something people care about. People care about. Oh look, a little fake out happening in that sense. Are we going to push past the zone? I want to see it happen. Obviously, I want to see it happen. I want to be bullish on this. I want to be. I'm just talking about the negative potential outcomes from things not going to plan. Okay, give me my bloody chart back here, and I'll catch up with the chat. It's now 20 to 11. I'm going to tune out before 11. So anybody that wants me to take a look at a coin is going to have to get in there really rapido, but I probably won't bother. Sorry, it's Christmas, and all that. By the way, if you want to give me a Christmas present, the biggest Christmas present that you could possibly give me, just like Carlman says, this is me ripping off Carl by saying this, but there you go. The biggest Christmas present you could possibly give me, worth more than a donation or anything like that right now, would be to share the video. Share the video, give me that sort of endorsement, if you like, publicly or whatever. I'd massively appreciate that. Obviously, if you do it when I'm live as well, and people have the opportunity to tune in and see it live, and they'd like that. What am I looking for? Why the chart here? This right now with the, have I got it drawn in already? No. This area here with its wedginess is obvious, right? I have got it drawn in on the other charts. I don't need to draw it in again. Bring it up. Where is she? Oh, there's the drawings here. Give me my drawing. Give me my, which chart did I do on? This one here. This one here. This one here. Cool. This one here. This one here. So, we've moved outside these zones. Now, are we just going to see what we've seen over here and fake out? Well, I mean, currently that could be the case. How we'll establish it? Oh, a decent enough looking candle here in the 15-minute time frame. This, I wish I had an easy way of changing the size of these. I wish it was easy to change the size of it. Unfortunately, I don't know how. Zooming does no difference. I mean, when zooming makes a difference, but changing the scale on the right makes no difference. Decent size candle there. Could it be giving us that sort of breakout idea? Could we be looking at 23,800 before? Have we already been at 23? Oh, we've been up at 23,754. So we've kind of already done it in terms of that 23,800 chat that I had. But we've not quite. I don't like using that one. Instead of using that one, I'm going to use, because I've got more than enough touches just to simply just do like this. This is more of a channel, I suppose, really, isn't it? This is on log, isn't it? No, it's not on log. Put it on log. Yeah. If it fails, it's going to just be a channel. Whatever, and we can ignore the diamond thing. The diamond thing, well, you can ignore the diamond thing if you want to. It's just in terms of if you're looking at if you're looking for a pattern right now on the charts or whatever, then you've got one here, and that's just worth pointing out. It's like no big deal. I don't really particularly care. Another really obvious thing that you've got on the go, which I already talked about in a lot enough anyway, is this Adam and Eve structure. Because there's no head in here to give us a head and shoulders. There's no head in there to give us a head and shoulders, but there is at least just the Adam and Eve in this zone if we were to break down past the neckline, of course. So, I mean, that's what to look to, but clearly, really, as well, that we're just within the range of this. If I just kind of wanted to draw on we're in the range of this zone. That's not a curly bracket. That's an ellipse, an epsilon. I want a curly bracket. What's a curly bracket look like again? There we go. That's what I wanted. So we're in that range there. Got a nice curly bracket on the go. It's cool to see us breaking out towards the top side of that thing, though. Let me just go back enough times so that I can get the wedge back on the go and stick the measured move on properly. I deleted it as soon as I came back here, so yeah, cool. Let's see, what's our measured move going to be? What's our measured move going to be here on this one then? Pop this up the way. Oh, it takes us to the blue line, so we don't really need it. We'll just stick it down here at the bottom for the just leave it where it was. If we come back down and retest this area, it'd be no big surprise to me. That comes in at 23,600, by the way. So the current support that you want to see, this is on a small term time frame of what, the 1 hour, something like that, or the 15 minute. What you want to see is the 23,600 maintain its support levels. If it doesn't, now currently it's fair enough to say with the structure that we've got on the go that if we break 23,600, then we'd be immediately looking down towards 23,480. Breaking that means we're probably going down in another $480, okay, down down towards 23,000. That's the most likely outcome of doing those two things. So if we see the price go down $100 and then from there go down another $150 or $100 to $120, all right, those movements would most likely lead in it going down towards 23,000 flat at that point, and that would be an easy trade to make. So far here with the breakout so far, you could have obviously taken a trade off the back of this, in which case you're managing your risk at these zones. So let me just stick it on. Obviously I'm not trading this myself, but this is like, you know, you always got this sort of the two case scenario thing. So what we're looking to is a move up towards that zone. In terms of risk to reward then, you know, if you're looking at 5 to 1, you want to stop out at I suppose theoretically you'd want to stop out at, let me just get this lined up properly here. So what's that saying to you? Well, structurally what it's saying to you is that if we come back down to this zone, we're okay, but if we break down past this point, then we may well be going on towards, well, this here just shows you exactly what I talked about. And then if we do go towards the top side, there's your move, and that's 5 to 1. Now I tend to look at things, I'm kind of built towards, I suppose, after a long time doing this, at finding the 5 to 1s. That's why it almost always works out as 5 to 1 when I'm talking about this. When I put one of these examples on here, always works out like that almost. I don't know why. It's not a conscious thing. It's as much conscious as it is whenever I say that's where the 236 will probably be, and then I draw one on, and it is, just like earlier on that link chart when we were looking at the liquidity zone that we kind of, you know, didn't actually properly break and where it lines up with, and lo and behold, it's where 236 is. You know, these things just kind of, you know, tend to repeat themselves so often, and that's what's been going on there, and that's why we so often see 5 to 1s. Anyway, that's a complete exact analog there for whoever did that trade, if anybody did at all whilst watching this video. Nice to have you here, Johnny Smith. Yo, Rocky, could you have a scan at EWT for me again? Merry Christmas too, dude. I've also gone chicken for dinner tomorrow. Good idea, buddy. Chicken's better than turkey, in my humble opinion. Maybe when I have kids myself or whatever in the future, I would get turkey just so that they can fit in school or something. But I'd be also tempted to bring up vegan and laugh at them. Michael John Scott, Rocky, see what Christine Lagarde says about the ECB's 1st January. Expect huge news, everyone. 010121, 1 plus 1 plus plus 2, 4, 2 plus 2 plus 1 equals 7. See her vid 2014 and magic number 7. A winky face, all the rest of it. And of course as well, that 1 plus 1 plus 2 is of course the first 3 numbers in the Fibonacci sequence, right? Is it like right down there? Yeah, the way that you'd work it out. And as well, add 1 to 2, you get 3, and 3 is a prime number as well, which is great. So we'll do that. We can do that. I'll have to check that out in my own time though. So fun stuff. Rocky, could you do me a favor? Yeah, I'll do that EWT thing, and then we will be going away. So okay, so everybody brace yourself, okay, because it's 10 to 11 now. I'll be tuning out just before 11 or 11ish. So you can, at least Johnny, you can rest, you can be relaxed in knowing that I'm going to do my technical analysis clearly in less than 10 minutes for the thing, so that's good for anybody interested. I think we're coming down, says 3000 Trin. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we made it to the fake out zone, didn't we, from it? This is the, you'd have to manage your risk here wisely. It'd probably be wise to have your stop and profit if you were taking that move. I'm not a financial advisor, none of this is financial advice, but the likelihood of us doing that there is pretty rife at the minute, and we're talking small moves here anyway. You know, you can keep yourself on the good side of yourself just by managing your risk appropriately. You'd always be able to get back in again on a trade if you wanted to do that down the line. What do we have here? EWT USDT token. We're still doing, actually, you know, tell you what, doing all right here. When was the last time I looked at this? I mean, did I just look at it yesterday? Is that what's going on? Is that why this, did I look at it yesterday? My memory is failing me here, but clearly we're doing all right for this one. How far into, how much in profit are we on our imaginary trade here? Current profit and loss 0.4. That's nice, given that, you know, percentage wise what we're looking at is, of course, that we're currently 10% or 8.5% in profit on that one. Not bad, not to be sniffed at. Decent enough trading opportunity there. That's another one for the history books, is it? Now, of course, we could also go completely mental on this and actually aim to get up towards $10.60, but we don't need to, because what we're talking about as well in terms of profit by that stage is that you're up 75%. I don't think we need to be as greedy as all that, do we? But that's your 5-to-1 on this one. Of course, we've experienced a good deal of volatility recently. There's no chance that I would be considering actually holding on to something down for a huge move down the way, and it'd be more realistic to take profit in around about these sorts of levels where you have, you're just coming into your previous high and you're looking at the 382 on that Fibonacci retracement. Well, that's actually not the 382 anymore. This is where the 382 is coming in at. So, but anyway, at $8.23 or whatever. So what's that? 744? Yeah. So we can make this would be a 5-to-1 again here, in around about this sort of idea would be better. Now I also wouldn't let a trade that's 10% in profit go back into being in that much of a loss. I'd probably take profit, before then, if that were to be the case. But it's nice to see that that's working out. Anyway, what have we got on the go here? We've got a downward trend, which has been in existence on the 4-hour time frame for as long as this thing's been listed on KuCoin. That makes a good deal of sense because, of course, it got listed on KuCoin, so the developers dumped it on everybody. So that makes sense. That's how these things happen. This is natural. What we see here as well is we drop down the way, and we found support bringing us back up and down, up and down, up and down in a nice stock operator style manipulative way, where we find one singular volume spike coming in here at the lows to oh no, it didn't quite get one. Yeah, but this green candle here pushing the price up, then giving us all this liquidity to dump into. Then the prices come down the way, and then it goes a wee bit, and then we get a singular sort of volume candle to try and dump into. Then we dump down some more, then come up the way. So we've had a nice degree of stock operation on the go here. Now we had another candle here, a nice with the one to push the prices up to then dump into some more from the developers and the initial investors, coming down to where the 236 was, and then coming back up to the 382. And at this stage, obviously putting in various other sort of Fibonacci things that we can just, for easy reference, like pop one on here to show you coming in past the 23 failure at the 236, coming blah blah whatever, don't care. That there, moving on down the way, and then we came down towards these ultimate lows that we've had. And what we've seen since in this area isn't just like one single candle pushing up to then dump down the way. Since it's been a bit of a recovery, that's nice to have on the go. What we can see here in terms of the MACD is that on the 24-hour time frame, that wasn't actually bullishly divergent, but here, if we break it down a little bit by going into the down towards the 4-hour time frame, then you can see that in this period here, right here, is where the bottom was coming in when we had this on the go during this feature here of the as the prices were obviously going down lower in this little area. So we had that little bit of niceness at the bottom of that one, so that's cool. Which translates into not seeing the bullish divergence on the 24-hour time frame, because you got this thing that wasn't really a low because we didn't have a high followed up by where the actual low came in at. But then I often talk about like looking towards the first initial impulse. So this is the impulse down the way, then we move down and put in an ultimate low, and of course then overall that translated to that bullish divergence within the structure itself is how that translated. Looking at the highs here then between these sections, that's looking okay. The retracement back down the way is good in terms of the structure. You've got in terms of the smaller term time frames, probably if I go down to something like a 6-hour, it'll look good for a sort of this low that wasn't a low concept with this here, and then this subsequent area here gives you that invert head and shoulders idea. It isn't actually textbook at all in any way. It's not a head and shoulders, it isn't. But what you can say is that going up past this zone here will obviously give us the chance, very very good chance, at coming in for a for the for our sort of our current area for taking profit on that. By the way, even though I did reduce this down the way, we're still looking at a stinking 25% profit towards the top side from where we even are currently, if for people who are looking to sort of trade this thing. Now, I'm not massively bullish on this from here at all whatsoever, but I am bullish on this from the move that we had previously where we got in on our sort of speculative move. So well done to yourself for trading this one, presumably during at some point previous to where we find ourselves now. And obviously I would ditch any move that we had as soon as we went past our previous low here, as you can see from the way I positioned the measure, the hypothetical trade. Okay, so you're looking here and saying that if we see the prices drop down below $6 and $5.62, that there's a very good chance that we could go down to either $5.01 or indeed $4.50, which is of course a 10% or a 20% drop off in price, and we don't want to live through that, so we'll not hold on to it during that period. Sorry, KDoc, but that's what you did during the XRP thing, and that's okay, I understand it, but you got that, you know, that's what you see having happened there, and you don't want that to happen. Like so you would relinquish your trade with the idea of, you know, finding how things go. Now if it just whipsawed you out with volatility, then you know, that would be hard hard lines, but you know, that's, you know, essentially the cost of trading. So yeah, what are we looking at with this one? Let's do some other stuff, since I've obviously analyzed this in the recent enough past with regards to that move that was on there for it to be still relevant. I've got less than 5 minutes left, so I'll have to wrap up the technical analysis on this one fairly soon. Let's jump down the way towards sort of like the 1 hour time frame and see how we're doing here with the Bollinger Bands. Tracing it towards the top side. Are we tracing it? No, we're not really. I want to see this latch on the way, as we saw over here, you know, on the 21st of December, and push up the way without doing what it ultimately did on the 22nd of December, shooting outside of it and dropping back down. We don't need to move so rapidly. People who want to go to the moon overnight often suffocate in the vacuum of space. Instead, what you want to do is, you know, fully fuel your spaceship and everything else first. We came back down towards the median line, up down. Everything's kind of worked out in terms of the bollies fairly easily here, and we find ourselves having been supported by the median line with the potential for moving on up the way thereafter, so that's decent to see. In terms of larger term timeframes, then what targets do we have up above? Well, yes, coming up here and taking out the $7 area will be maintaining the structure of taking out those previous highs. This has been rejected from the bullish control zone on the RSI on its first pass here in the 4 hour time frame. Come back down the way and put in a higher low here at this point there on, you know, the 8 o'clock candle on the 23rd of December, and which is ever so slightly higher than the previous low, whilst what we see here on the RSI is of course bullish divergence. So hidden bullish divergence on this low here, so that's decent during that phase. Want to come up here and, you know, then have the momentum this time to push into the bullish control zone, as we haven't actually succeeded to successfully done. We've pushed into it, but we've been rejected on the last time, the time before, and the time before that. Well, in all three of these times here, you know, that we've been rejected from it in this what I was hinting at earlier on, the inverse head and shoulders type concepts that you can have in it around about these. That's not the head, that's not the shoulders part. Sorry, this is more like the neckline here at the bullish control zone. So that's what you'd be looking for on that front. Which would be nice to see. Giving you a measured move, of course, then it takes up past the $7 area, popping it in here with a measured move, kind of roughly giving it here, just roughly, and taking us up to somewhere beyond, you know, that profit taking target, and of course the $8 area that we were speaking about before I kind of rejigged things a little bit. So you could be looking up as high as that. I wouldn't want to carry this all the way up towards $10 without sort of rechecking in with the technical analysis. I would also be aware of the fact that over here at $8 we do have not only do we have our profit taken from that measured move. Oh, I've disappeared again, sorry everybody, but that's perfect timing because I'm tuning out right now. Over here is where you had a previous high, so be aware of that. That's where we're going to find liquidity. Pop the VPVR on the chart for you here, give you a nice, give you sort of, hopefully give you, not the VWAP, give you hopefully, and I hear the bells ringing outside, so I am tuning out. I did say before 11, but we've managed to last just slightly longer. the VPVR here, big failure of that inverted head and shoulders by taking out the left hand shoulder at this stage here. If this is your left hand shoulder right in there at that point, this is your left hand shoulder. That's me looking at the 15th of December area for this one. Taking that out is also taking out the big node on the VPVR, and it's a failure of that pattern. And then I would expect perhaps to come down and retest somewhere in here, at least the head of the head and shoulders idea. So I'd look out for that, and that's those potential rebuy zones. Towards the top side though, then we have other things to look to. The last big peak on this is coming in at 790, drops off after that point there. I can bring on some more price action so it filters out a bit. Come on, filter out a bit. There you go. You can see that after that point is where it drops off. So of course that's not only is that a good opportunity to then trade it up towards that $10, but this is obviously a clear profit taking zone in here, obviously, right, as there would be inflection at this point, giving you a chance to assess the nature in the market, the feel in the market for how much appetite there is for that move up towards that zone. And of course that's another 26% move towards the top side from that $8 area up towards the top. So that's how I would manage it there. And let me see, so that's pretty comprehensive technical analysis, more than you're likely to find elsewhere on the internet. But there's other couple of things that we could do, I suppose, in the meantime. I want to point out that I want to see volume, which takes out all of this previous volume, namely these candles here as well, in terms of volume candles. Look in the recent past, if we go towards the top side, okay, and that applies to those $8 movements areas as well. Hiding that off the chart and just kind of removing some of this crap off here so I can see what I'm saying as I wrap up the show. And I'll jump over to Bitcoin for the last 2 minutes as I say cheerio to everybody and leave it on screen. But I'm just trying to give this, this is a Christmas gift to people out there. I hope that you do then go ahead and actually share this video, by the way. That would be a nice way of kind of paying me back, as I've been requesting several times from people to give me sort of a bit of exposure out there in the world. It would be really valuable to me, and what's valuable to me is ultimately valuable to you, the mass you, the noun, the multiple you, because you are not only not only just the community that exists currently out there, but you're also representative of the community which is yet to come. Okay, so there's going to be more of you all in the future. The Rocky Outcropticians, be fair to yourselves by treating the people who are not yet a part of the community as you yourself would have wished that you'd been treated perhaps 6 months, 7 months, 9 months earlier on, depending on how early you discovered this channel yourself. Okay, so give a share out there and treat other people. I know you want to keep it as the best kept secret on YouTube. I know that. I've been told that several times by people, that the technical analysis is often too good here to want to share it with your friends or anything. Instead, what you find is the likes of people like indeed Tyler S, who watches my channel, Matty Greenspan, who watches my channel. Do they share it? Matty Greenspan, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Does he share it with anybody? No, he doesn't. Does Tyler S, over 40,000 YouTube subscribers, does he share it with anybody? No, he doesn't. So you have all these people out there who watch my channel because of the quality of the technical analysis. Do they share it with anybody? No, they don't. Don't be like those guys. Be a good guy instead, and instead share it with the community, because best kept secret on YouTube is only beneficial to people who are also doing YouTube channels, looking to watch other people do YouTube channels to tell them what their analysis should actually be. See the Moon as well, who also has in the past watched my channel and copied my technical analysis to tell people, with his 150,000 subscribers. And would he ever admit to doing that? Of course he wouldn't, but it has happened, and I know it has already in the past. Okay, it's not that difficult to do. You just simply put in a few things into your video which you don't fully think is, which doesn't really make any rational sense, and just look and see if he actually copies what you're saying, because he doesn't know what he's talking about down the line. And there you go, you get proof. And it's also easy to know if you leave comments on his best friends videos when they've got less than 1,000 subscribers, like Cal Chassis, and talk to him directly on YouTube as well, and he sees your channel and then within a few weeks does that. And then does he tell anyone? No, he doesn't, right? So that's what I don't want you to be like. Help people out there, don't be like those guys. Rant over. And let me just put them all visible on here. The magic atomic numbers, what do we have here? Spreading out the way. Have we just achieved it in terms of the bullish spread on in terms of the bullish fanning of them? Not quite. We've got to see what's going to happen next. Hopefully is that the 18 period exponential moving average takes over the 36, and we get that fully bullish span of them. We've not had that all the way since back over all the way since. We've never had that on this chart, so it'd be nice to see it happen. It'd be the first time in history, so that'd be another bullish scenario for you going forward. So that's another piece of unique insight, which is, of course, if somebody copies that, that would be accurate, so I wouldn't mind, and all that. And then the last thing I want to talk about is hiding off all these small ones and putting on, now they're not going to actually be visible, are they? I'm being silly here. Oh, they are visible. Cool, sorry. So we have, we're coming right in for a cross on the a golden cross. We've just had it as the prices are right at it. This is a good buy, and there you go. That's your absolute comprehensive professional level technical analysis delivered to you for free. Christmas gift for you. Hope you like it. Take it with you. Run to the bank. Now, of course, manage your risk appropriately. I'm not a financial advisor. You have to choose these things yourself. Iteratively improve. Rely on yourself. The only way you'll become a good trader long term is if you learn to do that. So I'm going to encourage you to do that right here and now. But I would say, there you go. You chose a decent enough setup for several reasons. I don't think you're going to get any more detail than that anywhere in the world. Certainly not in less than a span of 15 minutes. Now, let me just check in with the chat there. Have a lovely dinner tomorrow, everybody, says Michael John Scott. Yes, I really do appreciate that. Let me just actually put the Bitcoin pricing on here so that nobody misses out on seeing that as we wrap up the show, which is happening right here, right now, by the way, everybody, as we zoom in on the 50-minute time frame and bring up the prices. We're seeing a bit of a turnaround here. We did come up towards, you know, I mean, let's call it, let's say 23,750 is close enough to the 23,800 price that I said earlier on in the video. That's cool. We've done that. We've done it. And what we've ended up doing is putting in a lower high overall. So turnarounds from this point here and seeing coming back out down and taking out the 200 simple exponential, or sorry, 200 simple moving average here. This yellow dotted line that's kind of ugly looking, the mustard line here, is going to be doing a couple of things at once. As you can see, it's going to take out this key area that we already spoke about in the past, that I put on here, which has been the key area. Looking at this, lo and behold, wasn't it just that key area really that led towards this sort of breakout at the time? Yes, it was. So doing that there is going to be important. Now, if we did for the downside scenario, now if we get a golden cross here, which seems very likely unless we rapidly descend below this in the period of the next sort of like couple of hours, which is also very much possible, then and this could undo. So I'd look out for that, this undoing of this. But if that were to happen, get a golden cross here, I'd also expect these things to get a retest of them, so I'd look out for that too in the next wee while, giving us a clear area in terms of how to manage your trades during this period of ranging price action. One way of doing this, which might actually kind of make a little sense to you, is of course the result of that wedge. Now, we had the wedge on the chart earlier on the other chart, and we already know that from numerous past experiences looking at charts that movements along these lines lead to, of course, parallel channel. Zooming in, actually hiding the parallel channel in the background just so you can see it the new one easily on this time frame. Then this is what we're looking to, bringing up full screen and saying that, of course, you know, failure to take out this blue line is going to see a rejection on the way down. We could go back down towards 23,432 then at that point. Obviously, this is where we find this area where we had an almost ascending triangle. You could have said as well, if you'd wanted to debate that, and on this 15-minute time frame in this zone just here, then of course then you'd be looking down towards this area here for a turnaround at that point. That's going to be 22.8 if that needs to be the case. But then of course moving past 23.8 is going to bring you up towards your next potential targets, and that's going to be 24.5 in the next wee while. If you're going to look beyond 24.5, then look towards 25 was it 25.7? I think it was 25.75 is your next target up the way. Then afterwards you're looking at 28 really potentially is your next target. Actually no, let's call it 27, because like that's, if memory serves me, that's where the measurements were coming in at. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of work to do, and it involves what's going to happen in this period just here. And that is going to do it for us as I clear off those brush marks off the chart so it's slightly easier, and then place on a little reminder to folk about when we will be back in here to continue on with the show. Now, it's not a big surprise, it'll be tomorrow, providing that I don't get too messed up at Christmas time. Then of course I do intend to be back, so the intention is to be back here again on Xmas Day around 8 p.m. to do another live stream. It would be a great Xmas gift to me if you could share the video and help stop this channel being the best kept secret in crypto TH. A, which I think is fair to say, in my humble opinion, this absolutely is that. Thank you so much for tuning in as I just hide this panel on the right to give everything a little bit more real estate on the screen and turn around and look at the camera, which is turned off, but you know, there you go anyway, and say Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, really do appreciate it, and that goes to everybody. I'll just do a quick inverse roll call to say thank you for everybody for tuning in. What you have here is 3000 Trin. Merry Xmas if I can't catch it, absolutely to you too. Looking back up the way, we've got TradeSpot, an ever-present, very valuable and much loved member of the community there as well. Michael John Scott, thank you for your wishes about having a Christmas dinner. That's is lovely. I will indeed enjoy it. And looking up the way as well, we've got Simal Gonçalves, Buon Natal Rocky, thank you so much for that. Johnny Smith, I hope you enjoyed the EWT. Of course, I didn't hear back from you. Be nice to hear from you after having done that technical analysis that lasted a wee while and I think was extremely detailed. But if you don't, you know, if you've tuned out already, maybe you're going to come back and watch it another time, in which case leave a comment down below in the video if you're seeing this, Johnny. I would really appreciate that. Then AB Lopez, thank you so much, by the way, and have a good one, everybody. It's always nice to see how everybody here always wishes each other a good time as much as they wish me one. That's what you call a healthy and you know, really nice community. So good on you and good on every one of you. It was nice to have you here, Al1 Clute, who's demonstrating to people how to do well trading. You did a trade on Bybit for a 15x long on XRP. Well, actually, no, I take that back because you just guessed it would go up. Gained 200% so far, though, so obviously you're doing well. Merry Christmas to you. I'm really happy about that. Of course, now you can afford to give me a big, healthy tip, so cheers. I look forward to seeing that arrive. Lol, just kidding, pulling your leg. Nice to see you as well, Richard. It's always good to have you here. My namesake, of course. Scotty Sniper, didn't see you coming in earlier on to give you a shout out. Should have done it at the time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Nice to have you here again, my man. Then of course XXP is my Santa gift. Is that what you bought yourself? You bought yourself some SXP for Christmas. Good idea. And then what else did we have? Monkey Magic, you're a star. Thanks so much for joining us. And we had Ryan Miles earlier on coming in and give us a bit of chat. Phil H as well, another member of the channel as well. By the way, everybody, just be aware that there is now a Patreon which you can of course help support the channel on. If you want to do that, then of course go and visit patreon.com/Rocky Outcrop to help support the channel. By the way, why am I asking for that? Well, I actually want to run this YouTube channel as a business. You might be shocked to hear that, but I'm not going to be entirely philanthropic. I'm already as philanthropic as I could possibly afford to be with regards to my time and information, which you'll get completely for free. But I'm not going to then as well go in and stick money in, wasting it on stuff like cameras and microphones and soundproofing and everything else. Instead, the reason, if you want the channel to become better quality, which it will, because I always do anyway, and I've already invested more than $3,000 into starting up this channel, way more than that anyway, with purchases I didn't need to make that I made specifically to do this channel. So if you want to see the quality get even better and all the rest of it, then I'd appreciate it. You can join the Patreon, and over time then I'll put those investments into things like soundproofing and better quality microphones and whatever else. So that's what that's for. So if you want to do it, then support the channel that way, because it needs to wipe its own face. Honestly, this is not just me doing this as a sort of entirely philanthropic endeavor, although of course 150% of it has been so far. Anyway, Navin Ethan, you're a star. Thanks so much for joining us here. Spearmint Man, really do appreciate it. Michael John Scott, you're also a legend for having been here. Danny Morgan, very good to see you here on Christmas Day. And we also had Peter Hewer, who is of course one of my longest and closest YouTube sort of sourced friends. He's a legend here amongst the Rocky Outcropticians, having been within the first sort of 20-25 people to subscribe to the channel, much like our French friend Etienne, who is of course also in a similar sort of situation. Somebody who's watched all the videos and content that I've put out since January 2020. Well, we're staring January 2021 in the face. It'd be nice to go in there with 2,000 subscribers. You can absolutely do that. It's within your power to bring us to that number by sharing it with your friends and loved ones out there. I really appreciate everybody who's tuned in today, and I will be back again tomorrow. As you can see on screen there, I'm aiming to be here by 8 p.m. tomorrow. What will we do? What let's see how that goes. And if we do break out past this point here, we've already covered off all the targets. If we get rejected from it, we've already covered all the targets, so everybody knows where we could be going. And that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I will see you again